Miles heads for the guidance counselor office at his school as his parents are waiting for him and are getting quite agitated because of his tardiness. He gets to the meeting and they question him about the reason he's late, but he eventually settles down to go on with the meeting with the guidance counselor. They discuss his future and he says that he wants to study quantum mechanics at a university outside New York. His parents disagree, but he makes his point that they have to let him grow. Outside the office, Miles sees Spot, who has freed himself from the webbing around him, and goes out telling his parents that he has to go. Officer Morales also receives a call about a robbery and heads out leaving his wife. Miles suits up and fights the Spot. Their fights go from one portal made by Spot to another and eventually they fall into a construction site where the Spot tells him that the spider that bit Miles was brought to their universe by him and that when Miles destroyed the collider while fighting Kingpin he was in the room and was transformed into what he is now. In a bit of rage, he charges at Miles but ends up kicking himself into his own portal. Officer Morales talked to Spider-Man about his son, not knowing he is talking with Miles. Miles advises him to let his son spread his wings and swing away. Spot discovers that he can travel across universes. Later that night, the Morales throws a party to celebrate the promotion of Officer Morales to Captain. Miles misses the speech as he's out fighting crimes but manages to buy cakes. He arrives at the party late and his parents question him. This leads to Miles getting grounded. He goes to his room, plugs his headphones in, puts them over his head, and lies on his bed. A portal opens and Gwen Stacy jumps into his room. She hugs him and checks out Miles' room as Miles tries to hide some of his stuff. She sees a sketch pad with a lot of drawings of her on his bed and tells him that she misses him as well. She tells him that they should go and hang out, but Miles tells her that he is grounded. Eventually he agrees and he suits up. Together they swing around the city and show off to themselves the new tricks they've picked up. They also capture a thief. In the middle of their hangout, Gwen sneaks to a corner and releases a robot spider from her watch to monitor the Spot and then goes back to Miles. Captain Morales and his wife go to check on Miles in his room but find Gwen's sweater and his dad yells out that Miles will be grounded for 6 months. They hang out on a tall building to talk. Gwen outlines that she joined a new organization and made some friends such as Hobie. She also tells Miles that in every universe Gwen and Spider-Man date each other, which prompts Miles to want to hold her hand. But she ends her sentence by saying that in every universe it doesn't have a good outcome, which makes Miles retract his hand. They went back to the party and had some food while Miles checks out Gwen's multiversal traveling watch and wonders why he wasn't picked as well. She tells him that it is a small elite group. Captain Morales and his wife come to them and Miles introduces Gwen. Gwen's watch starts beeping and she tells them that she has to go and then leaves shaking Miles' hand. Miles is sad and his mother gestures to her husband to leave them alone. While she talks to Miles she asks him what's up with him and he almost confesses to being Spider-Man but apologizes for coming late to the party. His mother tells him to go after Gwen after seeing that he seems sad. He thanks his mother and goes after Gwen. Gwen arrives at a blown-out building and Miles turns invisible and follows her. She uses her watch to watch the reenactment of the event and sees Spot absorbing the black holes in a collider and eventually being dragged into it, leading to an explosion. She panics as Jessica's hologram hovers over her and asks for a progress report using Lila. She discovers that Spot escaped from Gwen and asks where Gwen was. She tells her that she was with Miles and begs her not to tell Miguel, and Jessica gives her a second chance. Lila gets Spot's location and Jessica tells Gwen that she is giving her 1 hour to fix things and that she will contact the local Spider-Man in the universe to help her. Gwen looks out at New York and says goodbye before heading into a portal. Miles watches all this happen and also follows her. They fall into another universe in a city called Mumbaton. While fighting with the Spot, Miles saved Gwen from falling and she asked why he followed her. They are discussing this when Paviter Prabhakar arrives and introduces himself as the Spider-Man of that universe. Together they find the Spot and try to fight him, but he escapes and they followed him into a building where he locks them out with a force field. Miles tries unsuccessfully to absorb the force field as Spot fires up the collider. Hobie arrives and breaks the force field. Gwen and Paviter Prabhakar are happy to see Hobie while Miles considers him strange. Spot absorbs the collider's wormhole, leading to an explosion, and Miles sees a vision that he can't decipher. Spot says that he will take everything from Miles before entering the portal. Miles, Hobie, Gwen and Paviter Prabhakar run out of the building as it collapses, saving people. Miles saves Captain Singh and a kid as Paviter Prabhakar is busy holding a bus that has Gayatri Singh, his girlfriend, and some other people in it. The crowd thanks Miles, Hobie, Gwen, and Paviter. The spider team arrives and tries to stop a black hole that has started growing. Miles introduces himself to Jessica and she tells him that her boss wants to see him. Hobie, Gwen and Miles go into a portal. Miles is awestruck by the number of Spider-Man at the Spider Society headquarters and also by the size. Hobie tries to get him to leave the Spider Society, asking Miles the reason he wants to join. While picking up some gadgets along the way, Jessica gives Miles a temporary watch to stop him from glitching and they show him around the headquarters. Miles meets Spider-Bite, a Spider-Woman whose avatar works at the Spider Society headquarters. Miles eventually meets Miguel. Miguel expresses his anger about Miles saving Captain Singh and says that it was a canon event. Peter Parker comes in and tells Miguel to cut Miles some slack. Miles is happy to see Peter and Peter also introduces him to his daughter, Mayday, who also has spider powers. Miguel explains the concept of the Spider-Verse to Miles and tells him that some events have to happen and those events are called canon event. He tells him that if enough canon events are disrupted it could lead to the destruction of the Spider-Verse. He then tells him of how he tried to live the life of his variant in another universe which led to the destruction of that universe. He tells him that he created the Spider Society for this reason. Miles remembers his vision of the Spot about to kill his dad. He says that his dad is now a captain. Miguel tells him that his dad has to die and that it is a canon event. Miles insists on going to save his dad, but Miguel captures him while Peter and Gwen try to talk Miguel into releasing Miles. Hobie signals to Miles to use his palm and Miles does. He absorbs the electricity and disperses it, freeing himself, and runs out of the room. All the Spider-Men tries to catch Miles, but he jumps out of the building as Hobie leaves. Gwen tries to catch Miles, but he looks at her with disappointment in his eyes while he rips her web off and he escapes. Peter with Mayday on his chest tries to explain the reason with Miles, but he doesn't listen. Miguel tracks Peter's location and finds Miles. He beats Miles and tells him that he is an anomaly and that he is the only reason Peter died in his universe. He says that Miles wasn't meant to be a Spider-Man and shouldn't have been bitten. Miles notices that Gwen and Peter know about what Miguel is saying, which angers him. He uses his electricity power to zap Miguel and tells him that he just lured all of the Spider-Man out of the headquarters and then jumped off the train they were fighting on. He says goodbye to Gwen, but Miguel jumps after him. Invisible Miles activates the Go Portal machine and scans his eye to send himself back home when Spider-Bite notices a problem with the machine and tries to fix it. Miguel arrives and tries to stop Miles from escaping, and he also yells at Spider-Bite to stop him, but Miles looks at her and she allows the machine to send Miles home. Miguel sends Gwen back to her universe saying that Miles' escape is her fault. Miguel takes Ben and Jessica along with him and goes to Miles' universe. Gwen and her dad finally talk and he quits being the captain of the police department, saying that Gwen is his greatest achievement and gives her a gift Hobie dropped by, which is a watch. Gwen uses the watch to open a portal and tells her dad that she will come back, then enters the portal. She ambushes Ben and takes his watch. Miles makes it back home and reveals to his mom that he is Spider-Man, but his mom doesn't know who Spider-Man is and takes the confession as a joke, then leaves his room. Miles glitches and he realizes that he is in another universe. Miles' uncle Aaron comes through the room and Miles was happy to see him alive and hugs him and says that he missed him, which surprises Aaron. Gwen arrives at Miles' room but doesn't see him and hears his parents talking. She senses that he is in another universe. Jessica also spies on Miles' parents. Gwen comes out of Miles' room and assures his parents that she will find him. Miles and Aaron go to the roof and he sees a photo of his dad on a wall, indicating that he is dead in this universe. But before he can fully process this, Miles is knocked out cold by a strange figure. He regains consciousness tied to his uncle's punching bag in his apartment. Shortly afterwards, the Prowler approaches Miles, then slowly removes his mask, revealing he is no other than Miles Morales from this universe, with cornrows and looking cold as ice in a world without a Spider-Man. He has no regard for his dad from another universe dying. Back in his home universe, the Spot makes his entrance, having his sights on Officer Morales. Gwen gathers her own spider variants which swing into action to save Miles and ultimately his dad. This great movie is set to be continued. Thank you for watching, guys. Please remember to subscribe to this channel for more animated recaps. Welcome back to our channel, guys. Today we will be recapping the movie, Superman vs. Batman, Clash of the Titans. Spoiler alert, watch out and take care. In the city of Gotham, after facing a devastating alien attack a year ago, has started rebuilding, and their sister city Metropolis has aided them with a whopping $100 million. The mayor announces that Superman will personally deliver the funds, as Bruce Wayne and Damian along with the reporter Lois Lane watches the mayor's speech from the crowd. Soon the roof lifted, and there he was, the Man of Steel. Superman is welcomed by the mayor and the crowd with thunderous applause. He unveils a giant check worth $100 million, donated by the good people of Metropolis to the city of Gotham. Suddenly an invitee attacks, who Superman recognized as the villain Metallo. Armed with a kryptonite in his metal chest weakens the power of Superman greatly. Bruce Wayne and Damian quickly change into Batman and Robin to chase Metallo down to save Superman. Metallo takes Superman into an empty junkyard to beat him up, but Batman and Robin show up to defend Superman. As Metallo mocks Batman for not being able to overpower him, Batman signals the Batmobile to come into action. The Batmobile crashes Metallo into a wall and blasts him. Metallo emerges from the flames, but Batman shows Robin that they have been able to crack the kryptonite in his chest and jumps to attack him. Robin's Batarang was able to get the job done, and they are able to get their hands on the kryptonite. As Batman instructs Robin to take it away, Superman regains his strength quickly and comes to the aid of Batman, who is fighting with Metallo. He then punches Metallo into a crusher and powers him down. Batman doesn't hand over the kryptonite to Superman as he doesn't trust him. This, however, annoys Superman. Then he uses his X-ray vision to see who Batman really is. Bruce then tells him he is not very trusting, and stated not when it comes to kryptonite. Plus, he now knows Batman is the famous billionaire Bruce Wayne. In LexCorp, Luthor is furious at the loss of Metallo at the hands of Batman after equipping him with kryptonite, and plans his next move to take down Superman. Mean-Man reaches his new tech center inside Wayne Industries. A high-tech robot dressed in a bat suit armor appears, and it is revealed to be controlled by Lucius, CEO of Wayne Industries and Bruce Wayne's good friend. They discuss strategies, and Robin is excited to find a jetpack with a rocket launcher made for him. Batman goes through the surveillance data in Metropolis City to track down Superman to uncover his supersonic disturbances in the Metropolis atmosphere pinpoint to Daily Planet and Metropolis Garden Apartments. Batman deduces Superman's secret identity and his residence. The next day, when Clark enters, Bruce Wayne is already waiting inside his apartment, surprising him. Superman states that he is truly the world's greatest detective, completely forgetting about Sherlock Holmes. However, Bruce hands over the kryptonite that is coated in lead and safely packed in a box. Before taking his leave, Bruce invites Clark to join the Justice League. Soon after, Superman flies out to the outer atmosphere and throws the lead-lined kryptonite into the sun to burn it. In the next scene, it's Friday evening and Lois Lane is working late at Daily. Without anyone noticing, Clayface enters the Daily Planet disguised as Clark Kent and abducts Lois. She is greeted by Black Mask in a limousine, and they take off. Soon Superman flies to an abandoned warehouse to save Lois Lane, where Black Mask and his entourage is waiting for him. Black Mask shoots Superman with red sun energy beams which drain Superman of his powers. A weakened Superman is then attacked by Bane and Clayface, and finally Victor freezes him to make him totally incapacitated. However, with the minimal sunlight that he received, Superman breaks the ice only to realize he is still too weak to even defend himself. As Black Mask tries to shoot Superman again, Batman and Robin arrive. The Batarang strikes the beam gun and it thaws Victor Freeze. While Batman and Robin fight the criminals, Superman regains his energy by exposure to the yellow sunlight and fights back. If you are enjoying this recap, remember to subscribe to get notified whenever there is a new upload. Finally, they defeat the criminals, capture Black Mask, and save Lois Lane. Superman flies out after learning Lex Luthor is behind the whole thing. Meanwhile, Luthor has already hatched another scheme to take down the Man of Steel. Lex Luthor has captured Poison Ivy and is awaiting the arrival of Superman. Superman blasts through the door, but Lex, who is well prepared, shoves an enchanting gas made of spores of Poison Ivy and kryptonite to take control of Superman. During the night, Batman and Robin are watching over Gotham City. However, Batman's sixth sense tells him something is not quite right and suspects Superman to be in danger. He therefore goes to search Luthor's office with Robin. Batman finds kryptonite and plant spores residue and tracks Luthor down to his weapons factory. Batman finds Lex Luthor working on his new robot army with Mercy, his lady assistant. While sneaking into another part of the compound, Batman comes across Poison Ivy, who was imprisoned in a glass tube by Luthor. However, Clayface attacks, but Batman, who is always on alert, suddenly shoots a chemical compound and dehydrates Clayface, who is trying to sneak up on him. That is when the mastermind comes to the spotlight and reveals himself to Batman, although he knew from the very start it was Luthor who was behind all of this. Luthor presents a mind-controlled zombie-looking Superman, who only obeys him and explains his master plan to take control of Earth using his robot army, which he is going to deploy throughout the world. Just when Lex orders Superman to destroy the Bat, he quickly fires batarangs to destroy the hypnotic device on Superman, causing the room to be filled with gas. Batman runs to the rooftop and Superman chases him using his X-ray vision. Superman easily overpowers Batman, and then Batman uses a piece of kryptonite that he kept in his belt to attack the Man of Steel. Just then both of them drop from the sky. However, Robin acts quickly and flies to rescue Batman with his jetpack while Superman makes a huge crash landing. Batman and Robin come to their secret Batcave outside of Wayne's mansion to get more kryptonite to equip themselves with. In no time, Superman tracks them down into the Batcave. Initially, Superman backs down to the power of kryptonite, which Batman uses against him, but soon knocks it over. Batman arms himself in a robot batsuit to battle Superman and asks Robin to slow him down. Outside, Superman and Batman engage in a fierce battle, resulting in huge buildings to crumble and collapse. The Daily Planet, Gotham Times and GothCorp all arrive in helicopters to broadcast the clash of the Titans to the whole world. While the Man of Steel brings raw power to the ballgame, Batman levels the playing field using his technology and technique. Finally, Superman somehow manages to subdue Batman, but only to be attacked by Robin with his new rocket launchers. With the distraction Robin caused, they quickly escape into a warehouse and Batman uses atrazine gas to neutralize the effects on Superman by plant spore and kryptonite blend. A recovered Superman takes Batman and Robin to LexCorp's weapon facility where Luthor is ready to launch his new robot army. Superman takes on the launched robots in the sky and battles them in midair. Superman succeeds in disabling their firepower and destroys multiple robots. Batman and Robin attack Luthor's command center, making Luthor retreat to cover. Meanwhile, Mercy, his assistant, defends him. Just then a gigantic armed robot emerges from the facility which has Luthor in its command center. Mercy is quickly subdued by Batman and Robin, and at the same time, Robin hits the robot with explosives with no effect. But Batman attached a specially made batarang which sends electrical signals that imitates a virus attack on the robot, leading to its system's failure. Superman attacks the failing robot from above and takes it down, much to the disappointment and anger of Lex Luthor as his master plan fails. After everything finishes, Batman is working on the Justice League's soon-to-be headquarters in the International Space Station. When Superman visits him with the recent events, Superman decides to accept the invitation to join the Justice League. Since now he understands the need for allies and, above all, the value of friendship. What do you think of this recap? Leave it in the comments section. Thank you for watching, guys. Please remember to subscribe to this channel for more animated recaps. Did they finally kill Superman? Stay tuned to find out. Welcome back to our channel, guys. Today we will be recapping the movie, Death of Superman. Spoiler alert, watch out and take care. The film begins in the Metropolis City Hall where the cops are trying to stop a notorious group called the Inter Gang from kidnapping the mayor. The gang disposes of the cops with their advanced weapons, but just as they are about to start celebrating, our favorite Red Cape hero shows up just in time. Superman flies in and single-handedly stops them in their tracks. He defeats the gang and their leader Mannheim and heroically states that no one tears his city apart and gets away with it. Later Cyborg discovers that the gang's armor was designed by Apocalypse Technology, so he offers to take it to his father, who knows this stuff, for further information. During an interview with the Daily Planet's reporter Lois Lane, Superman presents the rocket that brought him to Earth from Krypton, and in it they find a Kryptonian crystal with information. Superman activates the crystal and a man appears in a hologram claiming he is a Kryptonian AI designed to assist Kal-El and also keeping the history of all Kryptonian bloodlines. Later Superman flies Lois Lane back to the Daily Planet and then flies off. Then she enters the building. Inside the office, Lois Lane bumps into fellow news reporter Clark Kent, who she apparently is in a relationship with. Lane asks to meet Clark's parents and Clark reluctantly agrees, leaving Lane wondering if there really is something else she could find out about him. Later at Star Labs, Cyborg, Dr. Stone, and Dr. Irons are investigating the Intergang's piece of armor. Dr. Irons discovers the armor has traces from both Apocalypse and Earth, making it stronger. This type could only be made by Star Labs, Wayne Technologies, or even worse, Lex Luthor. Following this, Superman confronts Luthor, who is confined to house arrest, but he denies any involvement. Meanwhile, a Superman's fan, Captain Hank Henshaw, leads a team of astronauts aboard the space shuttle Excalibur when a boom tube sends a meteorite heading towards the shuttle. Elsewhere, Lex Luthor arrives at his Lex Towers in a bearded disguise, where a doctor takes off his house arrest tag, which he mysteriously mounted with pieces of kryptonite in his lab. Luthor has gathered a team of the best scientists of this generation. From there, he watches as the team in space is preparing for the incoming asteroid, which seems to have something inside of it. As Henshaw waits for Superman's rescue, the shuttle is destroyed as the other scientists are scattered out into space while Henshaw's body remains unaccounted for. The meteorite crashes into the Atlantic Ocean. As it is monitored by Luthor's underground research facility, Luthor sends a deep-sea exploration team to trace the crashed object, and they encounter Atlanteans. However, both groups are destroyed by a strange creature that emerges from the wreckage. Luthor is fascinated by the creature, which survived the catastrophic entry into Earth, and he wonders if he could finally be competition for the Red Cape hero. Later, Cyborg reports to the Justice League about the Excalibur incident with only 3 bodies recovered, and Aquaman says his guards are investigating the impacted area. Superman also learns that Flash told his girlfriend about his real-life name and plans to marry her, but Superman is worried about the dangers involved if he tells Lois Lane his secrets. Later that night, Clark takes Lois Lane to have dinner with his parents. Clark is afraid his dad is sharing too much information with Lane, while his mom starts to share about the girls who have broken Clark's heart before. Later, as she leaves, Lane is afraid Clark is holding too much from him, but Clark assures her all is well. The following day at work, as Clark is planning for lunch with Lane, he receives a report from Wonder Woman about an attack in a town by a strange creature. However, Clark declines since he has a date, but asks Diana to call him in case the League needs him. The alien wrecks the town, killing the cops, but the Justice League arrives tardily to help. In fact, the heroes soon discover the alien is not their normal villain, since he easily defeats them, forcing Batman to ask for backup. Elsewhere, Lex Luthor is creating an army using alien DNA, and he plans to use the new alien monster in town as a specimen. Meanwhile, Clark and Lois are on a date where he reveals there really is something he is hiding from her. He reveals he is Superman, but Lois bursts out in laughter. However, she soon finds the reality in it, since Clark is always on time. He writes captivating stories about Superman, and he also never sweats. Lois Lane soon turns to receive a call from her new news team informing her about the ongoing monster situation in Metropolis, which has already taken down half the Justice League. When she turns back to notify Clark, he is long gone, leaving behind a note outlining his last secret, which is he loves her. Superman arrives on the battlefield to find his team all busted up. All the citizens watch the news to see if he meets the challenge. As the fight rages through Metropolis, Luthor notes the creature, now termed Doomsday by Lois Lane, is a killing machine programmed to wipe out entire civilizations. The monster defeats Superman, and Lex Luthor arrives wearing a battlesuit to join the fight. He asks Lois Lane to keep the camera rolling, aiming to become Metropolis' true protector, but he is defeated and Superman saves him. The monster is about to kill Superman, but his girlfriend Lois Lane appears and confronts the monster, which now turns towards her. The monster heads to kill her, but Superman summons his remaining strength and charges at him. He breaks its neck with his punch, killing it, but unfortunately, the monster had in turn sunk its alien claw in Superman, fatally wounding him. Lois runs to Superman and notifies him he just killed the monster and saved everyone. In her arms, Superman reveals he was truly lucky to have met her before he closes his eyes, leaving Lois teary-eyed and the Justice League members in grief. The news reports the incidents of Superman's death as the citizens watch in disbelief. Later, in a state funeral, the Metropolis City Mayor honors Superman as a hero and a friend to Metropolis while everyone mourns for him. The mayor also honors the Justice League members alongside Lex Luthor, who also gives a speech about how he misses Superman and his late-night visits at his balcony. Later, Superman's parents welcomed Lois into their family. Superman's top fan Bobby also mourns Superman and wonders why they had to take a hero like Superman and leave him around. At Star Labs, Luthor is cleared and tries to gain custody of Doomsday's body for a Project Cadmus, but he is denied. Suddenly, Superman's rocket starts itself up and flies off. Later, news reporter Jimmy takes Lois Lane to Superman's mausoleum, where they find his coffin open. They see a dark figure resembling Superman fly away, and the movie ends. In the post-credits scene, Dr. Irons appears forging Superman's logo onto metal armor. Elsewhere in the North Pole, Superman's ship lands and a Superman figure appears amidst a forming ice crystal structure, and finally a robot resembling Superman flies high above the Earth, bringing the movie to a somber end. Thank you for watching, guys. Please remember to subscribe to this channel for more animated recaps. Superman is possessed by a demon who helps him and the Justice League to defeat Darkseid. Welcome back to today's recap. Spoiler alert, watch out and take care. In the beginning of the film, John Constantine is lying in bed with his girlfriend Z, the couple of new members of the Justice League, and now they are at the headquarters. The girl is very concerned about her new profession and John calms her down. They wanted to go to bed, but Batman announced over the loudspeakers that all the heroes should come to the hangar. Their Superman explains to the new arrivals what is happening at the moment. He even shows the Team Apocalypse, Darkseid's home planet. He tells them about Darkseid's first invasion of Earth and claims that it was because of the first attack that the Justice League was formed. The second attack involved Cyborg, Superman and his cyber forces. However, Raven, one of the heroines, gets sick during the superhero story, but she doesn't tell anyone about it. Diana reports that Apocalypse has infiltrated their dimensions and released drones, after which he retreated again. Superman claims that soon Darkseid will try to take over the Earth. Flash is interested in Darkseid's intentions, and he asks what assumption Superman has, whether the villain will capture the Earth right now or it will happen in the distant future. Superman, in response to his question, shows pictures taken from the worlds captured by Darkseid. Justice League intelligence reports that the villain is sending his elite guards as an occupying force. Superman outlines that the team is faced with a real and very dangerous problem that they have to solve. Many team members offered to make a deal with Darkseid, but Superman was categorically against it. He states that the villain created a monster that once almost killed him, therefore the only way to win is to destroy Darkseid. Flash and Constantine argue that the villain does not deserve to die and war should be avoided because otherwise a lot of people will die. Superman still stands by his opinion. Next, Diana tells the team their plan, but there is a traitor in the midst. Through Cyborg's eye, Darkseid saw and heard what the Justice League was going to do in order to destroy him. The Justice League is off on their mission to save the world. Through the portal, they move to the Apocalypse. Almost immediately, ships began to attack. The scene changes to 2 years later. Planet Earth is enveloped in darkness. There are a lot of destroyed buildings and cities, and people do not go outside. Darkseid guards are patrolling through the streets. Constantine is in a bar drinking whiskey with his friend Edrigan. Clark Kent and Raven come for him. Superman reminds an old friend of himself, after which Darkseid monsters break into the bar and attack them. They defeat the monsters and a dialogue ensues between them. Superman looked different, his eyes were green and there was a green Superman logo tattoo on the skin of his chest. Superman claimed that it was because of liquid kryptonite so that he would not become a threat to Darkseid. This means the hero was deprived of his superpowers as a result. Raven feels terrible and hears a voice in her head. She soon gets better. They both came to the bar to take Constantine with them, but the man refused their request. Raven tried to manipulate Constantine, saying that his dead girlfriend would like to see her man as a hero. However, Constantine is not moved by these words. Constantine brought his old friends to his office. They both retells what had happened in that battle. Darkseid knew all their actions and was able to stay one step ahead of the heroes. Because of this, many members of the Justice League died at the very beginning of the battle. The villain did not kill everyone as he had plans for some of the heroes. A few days after the battle, Darkseid sent his subordinates to Earth, so the heroes had no chance of winning. Constantine remembered how his beloved died, and he ran away at that moment. Now he doesn't understand why he did it. They both came for Constantine because they needed to search magic. John agreed to help, but before that he had one thing to do. He left and asked his old friends to wait for him in the office. Darkseid continues to destroy the Earth. He plans to gain power over the space sector. He even made Batman become his servant. Batman followed all his given instructions and reported all the work done to his master. Superman learns that new destructive equipment has appeared in China. Constantine returns to the heroes. Superman asks him to find Damian Wayne. The heroes are transferred through the portal to the location on the map. However, Batman contacted Luthor and told him the plan of action, which is to extend Darkseid's power to the entire universe. When the heroes got to the location, they were attacked by Damian's guards. They managed to fight back and found Damian, who was not happy to see Superman. Raven hears the voice in her head again and falls into a trance in which her father contacts her. It is his voice that torments the girl. He insults and humiliates her in every way and swears to take revenge for everything. Damian calls Raven and Clark to follow him. The young man claims that many of his comrades died because of that battle. Superman says they need to get to Batman and Damian can hack into Darkseid's program. After all, he is the son of Batman, so he agrees to help save him. The team is transferred to Stryker's Island, but Raven is getting worse. Meanwhile, on the island, Clark's girlfriend Lois fights Harley Quinn in the arena. A lot of people were watching them. Although Clark thought that the girl would negotiate, Lois defeats Harley and becomes the champion. Harley snatches the microphone from the host and tells the Suicide Squad that they will go to Lex Luthor and take back the planet tomorrow. Harley and Lois go to her office. Lois wants to show her something. Sheeta took Damian and Raven to a separate room so that the girl could rest. The young man asks how she contacted Clark. She said that she wanted to end her life by suicide and Superman saw it and saved her. Damian confesses his feelings to the girl. He wanted to find the League of Assassins and invited the girl along with him, but at that moment she refused. Raven told the young man that she didn't want to reject him. The fact was that her father wanted to kill Damian and the girl could not take the risk. Lois shows the new allies and heroes the Darkseid machines that have appeared in China, the Congo, and on the shores of England. These equipment move the Earth's magma to Darkseid's base. The heroes need to blow up the apocalypse, but for this they need to lure out the Paradums, which consist of improved Batman's DNA. Lois suggests they do this by stealing 2 trucks, thus the Paradums will go from the apocalypse to Earth. Next, the team will capture Luthor's tower and teleport to the apocalypse and destroy it. The team will wait until Darkseid goes to away, then when they get to the apocalypse they will close the portal so that Darkseid does not get back. Without the apocalypse, the villain will not be able to destroy the Earth. Lois learns about all this information from the sleeper who was with Darkseid. He had been giving her information about the villain for months. The team needs to act as quickly as possible as the molten core of the planet will be depleted in a week. This plan is very risky, but the team has no other choice. Harley and Captain Shark found the truck and made their way to the Luthor Tower. Darkseid goes to away and orders Batman not to bother him. The team is already inside the tower. The sleeper informs Lois that Darkseid has gone to away. The first team and the second team went to damage the equipment. Batman teleports his Paradums to Earth. Lois is concerned that the sleeper has not yet reported that the Paradums have left the apocalypse. The girl begins to blame herself that she did not assemble a third team. Constantine, thanks to his abilities, went to the third machine. He summoned his old friend. John Constantine set up the monster to ruin the equipment, then he returned to his team. Lois said that Constantine's plan worked, but they were just acts without any plan. The superheroes went to battle with the army of Darkseid. Luthor on CCTV cameras saw the heroes heading to the top of the tower. Lois informs the team that the gate is on the floor above and the team is in a hurry to get there. Suddenly Luthor appears in an exosuit and prevents the heroes from passing on. Lex starts attacking the team, but Raven deftly handles him. Superman stops the action of the team and says that they need Luthor, however Damian does not agree with him. Luthor tries to justify himself and says that at the end of that battle he was surrounded and since then he has been forced to work for Darkseid. However, Lex was exactly the same sleeper who helped the team and transmitted all possible information so that the heroes could move forward. Luthor was really useful to the team as he knew all of Darkseid's plans, therefore the heroes took him with them. The teams that caused damage to War Machine and fought with the villain's drones, many of them were already dead. Superman puts on an exosuit that Luthor gave him. The exosuit and all the weapons that Luthor gave to the team consisted of kryptonite. Meanwhile, Lois decided to stay on Earth and make sure that the portal remained closed. The heroes teleported to the Apocalypse where they were attacked by their old friends. Their minds were controlled by Darkseid. In this battle their team lost Edrogen. Constantine managed to free Diana's mind from Darkseid's control and she joined their team. Wonder Woman pointed the heroes to the tunnel that leads to the power generator and she decided to deal with the attacking opponents herself. Some heroes stayed in the tower with Lex and Lois. They decided to stop the monsters that have arrived on Earth since if they return to the Apocalypse the plan will not work. Meanwhile the team reached the power generator, there they saw the Flash. With the help of his speed, the power generator was operational. Flash was forced to run to maintain its functioning constantly. Superman destroyed the generator and saved the Flash. The superhero said that after that battle Darkseid reactor was damaged and the villain made Flash his replacement. The Flash was off the energy generator but the heroes could not blow it up. However the team had gone too far, they needed to revisit the plans. Meanwhile, the team of heroes who stayed on Earth began to fight monsters. Their weapons were running out of ammo and they had to close the portal to teleport to other dimensions. Heroes on the Apocalypse faced a laser attack indoors. Raven created a protective dome but she couldn't hold it for long. The girl could not restrain herself and her strength burst out. However, she repelled the attack of lasers and fell to the floor from exhaustion. As it turned out it was her father who wanted to get out. Suddenly the team notices the cyborg's body. It was taken apart and mounted to the wall. Their former colleague is now a servant of Darkseid as a source fence. Darkseid ordered him to capture the heroes alive to watch their punishment. Constantine uses magic to free the cyborg and all the other heroes from Darkseid's control. Superman tries to pull their friend out of the wall but Cyborg hurried to stop him. As there is little left of the superhero's body. He wanted to warn them about something but Batman appeared and Darkseid came with him. Superman rushed to attack but Darkseid destroyed his exosuit and threw the superhero aside. Darkseid through Batman's mind presses on the sore topics of Constantine and Damian. The young man hears his own father calling him a burden and pulls out his kryptonite sword. He tells Batman to kill him if he really thinks he is a burden. Darkseid orders Batman to destroy Damian and the superhero gets off his chair and activates attack mode on him. After that the chair starts shooting laser at the superheroes. Batman himself began to fight with his son. He is much stronger and smarter than the young man but when it was necessary to strike the last blow Batman remembered how as a child a loaded pistol was held in front of his face. Suddenly the hero took control of his consciousness and struck Darkseid. The villain got angry and decided to strike back but Damian stood in front of Batman and took the hit. The young man was down but saved his father's life. Raven sees this and can't control herself. Because of this, her father is closer to getting out. Constantine offered the demon his body to kill Darkseid but the demon preferred Clark's body and possessed him. After that he killed Constantine and began to fight with Darkseid. Damian was still alive, he apologized to his father and asked to save the heroes, after which he died. Lois tries to contact Clark but Batman answers her. The hero takes her to the big screens and Clark sees her. Lois says that she loves him very much after which a powerful explosion occurs and Lois along with the entire team on the ground dies. Superman expels the demon from his body and regains his abilities. Darkseid captures the demon and starts fighting Superman. Constantine meets with his dead girlfriend and realizes that he also died. Z outlines that she needed to apologize to him. On the day of their first attack when the girl was dying, she used a compulsion spill to make Constantine escape and survive. After this conversation, the girl claims that their friends need Constantine and he needs to go back. Raven cries over Damian's corpse and confesses her feelings, but as soon as her tears get on his skin he comes to life. Z kisses Constantine and he comes to life on Earth. The heroes devised a new plan in which Cyborg offers to send the heroes to the platform and bring the Paradums back, then throw the Apocalypse into nowhere and Darkseid will be forever locked up with his monsters. Constantine and Raven release Raven's father to freedom so that he distracts Darkseid and the heroes can return to the platform together. The demon does not attack Superman and tells him to leave as soon as possible. Cyborg opens the portal and the heroes leave. Then the apocalypse was teleported to an unknown dimension and the Earth was saved. The heroes mourned the dead loved ones. Batman outlined the bad news, stating that the inhabitants lost not a small part of the Earth's core and the rotation of the planet was disrupted. Batman estimates that about 1 billion more people will die before superheroes can take control of everything, but Superman is not going to give up. He is ready to fight for the Earth. Thank you for watching, guys. Please remember to subscribe to this channel for more animated recaps. Flash runs into the Speed Force to save his mother from dying, only to mess up the rest of the Justice League members. Welcome back to our channel, guys. Today we are recapping the film, Flashpoint Paradox. Spoiler alert, watch out and take care. The film opens with Barry having a flashback when their car breaks down. Barry's mother teaches him a lesson about accepting the things that cannot be changed, changing those that can, and knowing the difference. Later, Barry comes home from school and finds his mother had been murdered. In the present day, an adult Barry pays his respects to his late mother on her birthday and he mourns, wishing he could have saved her. Just then, he gets a phone alert about a break-in at the Flash Museum and heads for it, leaving his girlfriend Iris behind. Barry transforms into the Flash and arrives at the museum being attacked by 5 different villains. Flash begins to fight them, but they glue him onto the wall with adhesive. While trapped, Flash questions the villains and his archenemy Reborn. The Reverse Flash enters and reveals he hired the villains in order to tarnish the Flash's reputation by destroying the city. However, Flash also throws some adhesive which captures Reverse Flash too. Just then, the Justice League swoops in to help and they plan how to deactivate Reverse Flash's bombs. With no other options, Flash instructs them to move the villains away from the area and deactivate them separately, and the bombs are disabled and detonated in secured areas. Despite their victory, Thawne taunts Flash about not being able to save everyone, especially those who matter to him. Batman advises Flash that Thawne is only messing with him, but with his mother on his mind, Flash races into the Speed Force in an attempt to save her from dying. The next day, Barry wakes up in his office where James Forrest informs him about recent events with Captain Cold and Elongated Kid. Barry asks more about the captured villain from the playing news, but Forrest has no idea. Barry then heads out to capture the criminals, but he discovers that his powers are gone. His mother is alive and she reminds him of her birthday. Barry then realizes the world has changed drastically and his mother has also never heard of a superhero called the Flash, only the Batman. Meanwhile in Gotham, Batman fights with Yodo on top of Wayne Casino. He easily subdues Yodo and asks her for the location of the Joker, who is holding Judge Dent hostage. Yodo denies knowing, so Batman throws her off the building, but she is caught by Cyborg. Cyborg approaches Batman and reveals that in the war, Aquaman and his Atlantean forces have sunk most of Europe, while Wonder Woman has led the Amazons in conquering Great Britain. Cyborg asks Batman to join their resistance and help them against the two teams, but he refuses. Meanwhile, Barry discovers that his wife Iris is married and has a child. He later visits Bruce Wayne where he is attacked by Batman and he discovers Bruce's father Thomas Wayne is Batman since Bruce died in the robbery. Meanwhile, Steve Trevor runs through London looking to retrieve lost spy journalist Lois Lane, being chased by Amazons, and Queen Diana later executes him. Batman tortures Barry as he reveals that in his world he is a superhero named the Flash. He gets out a suit from his ring, but it instead belongs to Zoom. Barry then realizes Zoom must have reversed the timeline and Batman agrees to help him after learning his son Bruce is alive and is also the Batman in his universe. In Europe, Lex Luthor and Deathstroke captain a ship to locate the Atlantean weapon of mass destruction, but their ship is attacked by Atlantean forces. Lex's forces are defeated and he is held captive and later gets executed by Aquaman. Barry sits in a chair at the Batcave and asks Batman to recreate the accident that led him to turn into Flash, and a reluctant Batman activates the lightning rod on the chair. The plan fails, however, and Barry is set on fire. Meanwhile, Cyborg tries to convince the president to let the superheroes help, but he refuses, stating the military will handle the Atlanteans, and he relieves Cyborg of his duty. Following this, Aquaman and Wonder Woman set up a peace meeting between them, and later he has an affair with Diana. His wife Mara finds out and attempts to kill her, but Diana kills Mara and takes her crown, leading Atlanteans to declare a war on them. Barry awakens in the Batcave, burnt and panicking, and Thomas calms him with a sedative. Barry fears that he will forget everything from his timeline, so they must hurry and try again to restore his powers. Later, Vulko warns Aquaman that the atomic weapon is growing more and more unstable and could potentially destroy the entire planet, but Aquaman is hellbent on punishing the Amazons for their queen's loss. Captain Atom is also shown to be the power source of their atomic weapon. Barry and Batman try again, and this time Barry regains his powers and saves Batman, who was knocked off by the lightning. Meanwhile, in London, journalist Lois Lane runs for her life while being sought after by the Amazons. She records her findings that Aquaman will invade England tomorrow but gets cornered by the Amazons. Lois has given up, but luckily she is saved by a yellow speedster who kills them all, then disappears. She is then met by the resistance team, who is on her side. Lois questions Grifter about the speedster who just saved her, but Grifter assures her that there is no speedster in their team. Later, Batman checks on Barry and is surprised that his wounds are healed. Barry also alters Zoom's suit and recreates his old suit, becoming the Flash once again. He then tests his run but finds himself unable to run fast enough. On the other hand, General Sam Lane shows Hal Jordan his alien spaceship previously flown by Abin Sur, who claimed to have a magic ring which flew away into space. He plans to use it to destroy the Atlanteans' weapon, and Hal accepts the risky mission. Meanwhile, Flash discovers that he can't run fast enough to break the time barrier since another speedster is also using the Speed Force, predictably Professor Zoom. Flash decides to get help from Superman, who is the only one fast enough to break the barrier, but he discovers that Superman crashed into Metropolis 30 years ago. The two later meet up with Cyborg in Metropolis, and Batman agrees to join Cyborg's resistance only if he leads. They then ask Cyborg for his help in locating Superman. The three then head into the facility where the distressed Superman is held captive, and they liberate him. Once outside, security asks for their government property back. But Superman is recharged by the sun for the first time and fends off the attackers, but later flies away in confusion. Barry then collapses and has a seizure as his memories begin to change. Meanwhile, over the ocean, Hal Jordan flies the spacecraft and attempts to bomb Aquaman's army. However, he is swallowed by a giant sea creature controlled by Aquaman and explodes inside it. Barry later recuperates and learns that Jordan's attack has failed and that the final battle between the Amazons and Atlanteans has begun. Barry also convinces the doubtful young superheroes to help stop the war, and they depart for Britain aboard Batman's jet. On the other hand, Batman confirms Flash's suspicion that a yellow speedster Zoom is alive in this timeline. Suddenly, their plane is taken out of the sky by Atlanteans. Atlantean forces enter New Themyscira, where they are met by the Amazon forces led by Diana, the Wonder Woman. Suddenly the Resistance arrives and Lois tries to stop the fight but fails, and Aquaman and Wonder Woman fight each other. However, they are interrupted as Flash, Batman and Cyborg fight off Aquaman, while Wonder Woman fights against Captain Thunder. Batman gets injured in the exchange and Flash takes him away, and Batman asks him to find Zoom to change everything. However, Zoom appears to him and Flash chases him around, but Zoom outruns and immobilizes him. Zoom also reveals that when Barry tried to save his mother in a different timeline, he broke the time barrier and caused all this mess. In the fight, Aquaman fatally injures Cyborg while Diana ends Captain Thunder as Flash watches. However, Superman arrives and lasers off Aquaman's hand and comforts Cyborg as he shuts down. Diana then finds and finishes off Aquaman, who just activated his Captain Atom-powered weapon. As the explosion begins, Zoom mocks Barry, but Batman kills him. The dying Batman urges Barry to go back in time and fix this, giving him a letter as the explosion consumes everything. Barry later successfully enters the Speed Force and prevents his earlier self from saving his mother, hence preventing the Flashpoint. Following this, Barry wakes up in his office and notices the apocalyptic headlines are gone. He rushes out of his office and goes to his mother's grave to pay his respects, where his wife Iris arrives and comforts him. Flash is then seen in the Batcave explaining to Bruce the events of the Flashpoint and gives Bruce the letter from his father Thomas. Bruce opens it and cries, thanking him for his great delivery. Barry then waves goodbye and speeds back through the city. Thank you for watching, guys. Please remember to subscribe to this channel for more animated recaps. Welcome back to our channel, guys. Today we will be recapping the movie Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken. Spoiler alert, watch out and take care. For land beings, the aquatic world contains dark and unknown mysteries. There are unknown creatures like the Krakens who have always been feared by humans. Ruby, a teenager living in Oceanside, gets ready for class. When she looks in the mirror, she hides her gills in the collar of her blouse. In an animated video, she presents her research on the prom, which will take place on a boat. However, her mom, Agatha, warns that she cannot go to the sea or get wet in the rain, forbidding the young woman from attending the party. Even though her daughter is passionate about the ocean, the woman is undeterred by the dangerous monsters the unknown can harbor. Soon after, the Gillman family prepares for their life among humans by agreeing that when someone asks why they are different, they should answer that they are from Canada. On her way to school, Ruby is surprised by Captain Gordon, who drives a vehicle full of tourists. The man questions the bluish complexion of the girl's skin, but she manages to convince him that she actually came from abroad. Afterward, the young woman gets on a video call with her human friends and is surprised when they let her know they'll be going to the party without her, hurting her feelings. While feeling annoyed by their collective decision, she confronts them. However, the young teenagers manage to convince Ruby to lie to Agatha about attending the dance and decide that the girl's next step is to extend an invitation to Connor, the young man she likes. So the girl believes she should just ask him based on a mathematical calculation, but Margot suggests she do something over the top. When they arrive at school, Ruby is surprised by the decorations, but is even more startled when Connor appears in the hallway. She quickly imagines herself making a request to him, however she is snapped back to reality when the young man approaches, leaving her dumbfounded. After the awkward encounter, the girl plans to use the confetti bomb to propose later. Soon after, she learns that Connor finds the extravagant requests a stretch, so she hides the confetti launcher and tries a simpler approach. Even so, the young woman ends up messing up and confesses that she will be sick on the day of the ball, leaving the young man confused. However, when she turns around, the confetti bomb falls and Connor picks it up and becomes curious about the object. While trying to retrieve the device, the girl presses a button which makes the device trigger, spraying thousands of confetti in the young man's face. This caused him to fumble and slip off the edge of the fence, falling into the sea. Quickly, Ruby tries to throw a buoy to save the young man, but the object is tied to a very short rope. Faced with this situation, the girl sees no other way out than to jump into the sea. Even with great fear, she clumsily swims against the force of the waters and finds Connor. Suddenly, the girl is thrown by the sea current and gets stuck in some seaweed. However, her hand begins to glow and the light spreads throughout her body until it causes a bright explosion. At that very moment, something saves the young man and leaves him on the dock. Shortly afterwards, Ruby also arrives on dry land looking for her friend, but finds Margot and discovers that everyone is aware of the confusion. In the crowd, Ruby runs into Connor, who admits he was saved by Chelsea, the new student. The red-headed teenager doesn't miss an opportunity to introduce herself, drawing the attention of everyone who instantly adores her. During the commotion, young Gillman notices that her hands are still glowing as she tries to hide it. She ends up drawing attention from Chelsea. In addition, her vision begins to blur and the girl runs away when everyone stares at her. Soon after, she hides in the library and tries to call her mother, but ends up calling Connor. Remembering that her mom will be upset because she went to the sea, the young woman gives up the call. Suddenly her legs begin to grow rapidly and then her hands, making her body bigger than the bookshelves. Then a lady enters the library and is faced with a giant monster in front of her, which makes her scream in horror, scaring both of them. At the same time, the girl grows even bigger and takes on enormous proportions. In addition, Ruby can barely control her own body, so she flees into the forest. Her mom, Agatha, at the same time was about to sell a house to a couple seeking safety in Oceanside. However, realizing that there is something strange in the forest, the woman tries to distract the two. She quickly gets in the car and tries to talk to her daughter. Along the way, she runs over an animal which is actually her brother Brill, who moves strangely due to the gravity of the surface as he is used to the bottom of the sea. Upon realizing this, Agatha, the Kraken woman, pushes the man inside the vehicle to continue the journey. Meanwhile, Ruby, who is in the forest near the road, hides as she notices the approaching vehicles. Inside the car, the two siblings argue and are surprised by the giant monster outside. After being discovered, the girl hides behind the lighthouse, but her mother easily finds her. Soon after, Agatha approaches her daughter and starts telling a story about when she was a child. This causes the giant Ruby to shrink in size. After Ruby returns to her normal state, the two embrace and the girl is startled when her uncle appears at her side. If you are enjoying this recap, remember to subscribe to get notified whenever there is a new upload. Upon arriving at the Gilman house, Brill meets his new nephew. Meanwhile, in Ruby's room, her mother explains that whenever the young girl comes into contact with water, she will turn into a giant kraken. In addition, Agatha shows her hands glowing, indicating that she also turns into a monster. Even in the face of this new insight, Ruby feels deceived, as she always believed that her family hid from the beasts, but she did not imagine that the Gilman women would be able to transform into the creatures feared by humans. Discovering that everyone at school is talking about the huge animal that has destroyed the library, the teenager panics and quickly leaves the premises. In her room, Ruby hears Uncle Brill telling Agatha to ask Ruby's grandmother for help, but the woman does not get along with her mother. Hearing this, Ruby realizes that there are still secrets she does not know. Soon after, the young girl runs through the streets looking for her uncle, who is being attacked by dozens of seagulls. Ruby quickly manages to distract the animals with food, then asks Brill who sent him to the surface. He tries to deceive his niece, but ends up saying that Grandma Gilman was responsible. Furthermore, he reveals that she is at the bottom of the sea, so the girl thanks him by hugging her uncle, but tricks him by luring the seagulls with a sausage, so she manages to escape into the ocean. Inside the water, the young girl's body begins to glow like the first time until she transforms into the giant creature again. Suddenly, Brill appears before her, but decides to take her to her grandmother. During the journey, the glow of Ruby's body catches the attention of Captain Gordon, who is on the surface of the water hunting. However, she doesn't notice him and continues her adventure, astonished by the whales and jellyfishes she encounters along the way. After crossing a sea current, the young woman is surprised by the kingdom of the Krakens. The place has a bizarre structure with several lights, and a tunnel opens when uncle and niece approach. At the end of the corridor, the girl comes across a lush palace-like room. In front of it, Brill reveals that her mother is the last queen and ruler of the Seven Seas. Finally, the woman feels happy to meet her granddaughter, but it causes an explosion of fury because Agatha never introduced the two. After that, Ruby is taken to meet her people, who call her princess, so the queen reveals that the successor to the throne has returned after 15 years. However, the young girl doesn't like the idea very much, which makes her panic. Meanwhile, Agatha goes to her room to check on her daughter, who is fast asleep under the covers. In fact, she doesn't realize that the one in the bed is the girl's pet. At the bottom of the sea, Ruby discovers that she must protect the kingdom from dangerous creatures such as Leviathan, Umabozu and Siren, who are most powerful. Even though the Krakens are powerful, there are only 3 women left who can transform and defend the throne. In addition, Queen Nerissa, leader of the mermaids, found the Trident of Oceanus, a weapon capable of defeating any creature. However, in an epic battle, Agatha managed to steal the powerful artifact, forcing the evil redhead to flee. After that, Agatha hid the trident and left her kingdom to live on the surface. While talking to the girl, the queen ends up shooting a laser beam from her eyes, impressing her granddaughter. The girl also possesses powers like her grandmother, yet she feels pressured and decides to leave. During the journey through the dark waters, Ruby says goodbye to the animals, but is surprised by a steel cable that traps her tentacles. On the surface, Captain Gordon uses his wiles to capture the creature. Quickly, he fires a spear that almost hits its target. Faced with this situation, Ruby concentrates to fire her powerful laser, but nothing happens. Meanwhile, the man starts firing even bigger projectiles. However, Ruby was taken aback when someone catches the spear with their bare hands and then sets Ruby free. Suddenly, Chelsea appears, showing off her mermaid skills. However, Captain Gordon drops a huge bomb into the sea, forcing the two to flee quickly. As a result, only the man's boat takes the brunt of the blast. After escaping the enemy, Ruby quickly says goodbye to her heroine, since she can't solve so many problems at once, leaving Chelsea frustrated. On the surface, the Gilman girl returns to her room as if nothing had happened. The other day, she tries to sneak by her parents, but they eventually notice her presence. When talking to her daughter, Agatha feels her saltwater breath, yet the teenager admits nothing to her mother. On her way to school, the young girl is confronted with the great destruction she has caused in the streets of the city. In addition, the citizens are commenting on the freak who caused the mess. Even Ruby's friends believe in the appearance of the Kraken, since a video recorded by Captain Gordon reached them, which leaves the girl terrified. In this way, Ruby tries to convince the group that the hunter is crazy. Even so, Trevin decides to share the video with his thousands of followers. In light of this, everyone at school starts receiving the recording, causing Ruby to have a panic attack and run to the restroom. Suddenly, she hears voices outside the cabin and realizes that Chelsea is on site. Soon after, Miss Gilman asks her new friend for help, admitting that she just wanted to be a normal teenager. Faced with this situation, the mermaid invites her to a girls' day at sea. The pair then dive into the depths of the ocean where Ruby learns about the wonders of the seven seas. After the adventure, Chelsea confesses that after the Battle of the Trident her community went into hiding and she felt out of place at the Oceanside school until she met her marine friend. Afterward, the mermaid admits that she thinks it's impossible for the two of them to resolve the conflict between their kind and the Krakens. But Ruby believes they can come up with a plan, thus the red-haired girl proposes that the two find the trident to demonstrate to their kingdoms that the object can be a symbol of peace rather than causing contention, so their communities would not need to hide. At the Gilman residence, Agatha is surprised when her brother shows up looking for a home since the queen has kicked him out of the palace. While watching the news, the family realizes that the fisherman keeps talking about the appearance of the creature. Faced with this situation, the woman forces the men of the house to confront the monster hunter. After arriving at the boat, the Gilmans realize that Captain Gordon is already prepared for a new attack with his weapons. Quickly, Arthur, Ruby's father, suggests that they sail together, but the man is distracted by Brill and asks where he came from. At that same moment, Brill fumbles, which causes him to fire the fisherman's gun upwards and landing squarely in his head. Despite the suspicions of Captain Gordon, he ends up accepting the two-man's help. At the bottom of the ocean, the mermaid leads Ruby to the sea station, which is the power source of the entire sea. Agatha has hidden the trident stolen from Nerissa, who Chelsea reveals as her mother. However, only a powerful being can reach the center of the volcano where the trident is located, thus the mermaid admits that the Kraken girl is the only one who can withstand the sea currents. Faced with this situation, Ruby throws a piece of tin against the underwater volcano. That object is thrown from side to side like a ping-pong ball and returns completely destroyed and quickly turning to ash. After that, the girl realizes that she won't be able to do it alone, deciding to ask her grandmother for help. In the palace, the queen takes her granddaughter to a room where there is a turbine that simulates super strong sea currents, causing the girl to crash against the wall. After regaining her balance, Ruby manages to swim against the current and thus returns to the volcano. Within the water currents, she manages to move forward easily, but a stone appears in the way and causes the girl to be thrown outside. Later, the girl learns that laser vision is summoned through the strength of the Krakens, so she trains her physique and learns to direct her anger. Soon after, the young girl prepares herself by imagining her mother's lies. This causes her to cast a powerful beam which she can barely control. Teenager Gilman then returns to the underwater volcano but is unable to get inside due to the extreme heat. Faced with this obstacle, the girl learns to thicken her skin in order to withstand any temperature. The other day, she demonstrates that she has learned to control her laser to the point of destroying only the cell phones in the hands of students at the high school. While walking with Chelsea, Ruby doesn't even notice the presence of her group of friends, leaving them hurt. After that, the Kraken girl returns to the volcano. This time she comes across some sort of barrier but ends up getting distracted by her destructive thoughts and is thrown out again. Faced with this situation, the girl believes she must do something she would never do, ask her mother for advice. At the same time, the men of the Gilman family manage to distract the fisherman, causing the boat to go off course. However, the man becomes suspicious and irritated soon after. The younger Sam throws his pet into the sea, which causes the hunter to be attracted by the animal's light. He quickly captures the beast and everyone pretends that the creature is a baby kraken. Suddenly, the little beast lunges at Gordon, who manages to defeat it in quick fashion. Meanwhile, Ruby prepares to introduce her new mermaid friend to her mother, who is at a crowded event. Upon meeting Agatha, the girl immediately tells her about Chelsea, but when she turns around she realizes that Chelsea has disappeared. Then the two enter the house and the woman discovers that Nerissa had a daughter who became Ruby's friend. In sight of this information, Agatha forbids the young woman to approach the mermaid and return to the ocean. Soon after, the Gilman girl gets angry and starts transforming into the giant creature, quickly destroying the house. After that, Ruby runs away to the forest. Her mother asks Brill to look after the teenager as she is going to meet Her Majesty. After arriving at the palace, Agatha demands that the queen stay away from her granddaughter. In addition, the woman confesses that the young Gilman is involved with Nerissa's daughter. At the same moment, the sovereign reveals that the mermaid never had a girl. Meanwhile, Ruby goes to the volcano and easily crosses the barrier, reaching the powerful trident. After spotting the girl with the artifact, Chelsea admits that she waited 15 years to retrieve the trident and destroy the Kraken kingdom, completing her revenge. Suddenly, she transforms into a giant powerful mermaid and reveals that she is Nerissa. At that point, the evil creature attacks Ruby, who feels completely deceived. After the young woman receives the second bow from the evil queen, who throws a giant rock at the girl. On the prom boat, Connor throws petals of a flower into the sea and is surprised by a glow that illuminates the depths of the waters, revealing the giant mermaid with the mighty trident. While all the citizens run away in fear, the creature destroys the houses looking for Agatha, who appears in the sea. Spotting the massive kraken, Gordon prepares to attack, but Arthur reveals that the monster is his wife, leaving the hunter frightened. He then convinces the fisherman to hunt down the evil mermaid. At sea, Nerissa insults Agatha, but the Kraken Queen appears to defend her daughter. Soon after, the monster charges at them both with a menacing trident. Meanwhile, Brill dives in search of his niece, whom he finds buried under dozens of rocks. He then realizes that Ruby is fine but is sad that she has ruined everything her mother fought to achieve. Despite this, her uncle convinces her to go her own way. In this way, the young woman frees herself from the pile of stones and admits that she will destroy the trident once and for all. Nerissa, on the other hand, unleashes powerful blows on her opponents, knocking them to the ground. However, the Gilman girl emerges from the sea and prevents the final attack. Quickly, Ruby sets off on a mermaid rampage, impressing all her friends on the prom boat. After that, Nerissa strikes Ruby with her trident, which she manages to block easily using her skin-thickening power. However, the mermaid uses its tail to knock poor Ruby down. At the same time, the hunters come by boat to help distract the evil creature, so Agatha manages to throw debris at the monster. Ruby then lunges at her opponent, who throws her hard into the water, causing a giant wave that heads towards the prom boat and the fisherman. Quickly, the young Gilman holds the boat and prevents it from capsizing. After being distracted, Nerissa appears again and strikes the girl with her trident, pinning her against the seabed. The mermaid tries to destabilize Ruby, saying that she is a monster. This agitates her and increases her strength, causing the girl to fire a laser beam, ridding Nerissa of the powerful weapon. As Nerissa searches for the magical object, the young Kraken outlines to her mother that they must try to destroy it together, as their combined powers may be able to defeat it. Suddenly, the three are taken by surprise when the evil mermaid comes charging at them with her trident, but they manage to escape. Ruby then uses the laser beam to deflect the next blow and then directs the power against the object. In response, the Kraken women join the attack, destroying the magical artifact in an explosion. After the battle, everyone celebrates the victory of the giant monsters, and Gordon manages to capture the mermaid. Soon after, the Kraken family hugs and makes up, finally putting an end to the old disagreements that had separated them. At the dance, Ruby appears in a sparkling dress, and all the teenagers thank her for saving the town. She also ended up apologizing to her friends for ignoring them while she was with Chelsea. Quickly, the Gilman girl finds Connor and finally extends the invitation to him, who accepts using a mathematical calculation. Meanwhile, Gordon does a live broadcast, apologizing for insulting the Krakens. Meanwhile, the imprisoned mermaid is only concerned about her hair, which looks awful. The next day, Agatha shows the town to potential residents, highlighting her daughter as a positive for the community as everyone with her powers. More animated recaps.
Welcome to US Movie Recaps. In today's video, we will be enjoying a fantasy adventure film, The Boy and the Beast. There will be spoilers ahead, chill out and enjoy. The tale begins with the history of Ju Tengai, a city of beasts. The city's Grand Master declared his intention to retire and become a god. The search for the replacement is currently underway as he decides which god he wants to be. The Placidinosan and the aggressive Kumatetsu are the two most likely candidates to succeed. The winner of their duel will become the new Grand Master. A young youngster running from the police may be seen at Shibuya in the middle of the night. The young man ran. Once his father abandoned them, he lost his mother. He fled to Shibuya streets on his own after declining the invitation to stay with his mother's family. He murmured about how he loathed everyone as he walked the streets. When he finished, a shadowy version of himself who was uttering the same things as him materialized. He met a little mouse-like creature while eating and gave it the name Chico. He was discovered while seated by the enormous bare-faced Kumatetsu and his companion, the monkey Tatara. Looking at Ren's gaze, Kumatetsu decided to offer him the position of disciple that he was seeking. Tatara, however, made an effort to halt Kumatetsu and removed him. Ren regained his composure and followed Kumatetsu. He was discovered by some law enforcement, which forced him to flee. As he was running, he noticed Kumatetsu had entered a tiny lane and vanished. Ren hesitated for a while before following him into the same alley. Yet inside, all he discovered was a strange lane where he appeared to be in a loop. That is, until a donkey drove him into Ju Tengai Street from the alley. He was astounded to find so many humanoid beast people in a lively street. When he tried to turn around, he saw that the alley behind him was already locked. He panicked and raced to the streets in search of a way out. He was ultimately discovered by some wolves that intended to devour him. Hyakushuabu, a monk who appears to be a humanoid pig, attempted to take the boy home after saving him. When Kumatetsu discovered the two of them, he attempted to seize Ren from the monk while claiming that Ren is his pupil. After some disagreements over choosing Ren as his student, Kumatetsu led Ren to his chaotic home. Before going to bed, Kumatetsu informed Ren that he would be returned to the street if he sobbed or complained. Then Ren left the house to survey the city. He had a dream in which his mother was bringing him food. He sat down and sobbed after understanding it was simply a hallucination. Kumatetsu discovered Ren dozing off inside the chicken coop the following morning. The two of them then share a breakfast. Eating raw eggs, in contrast to Kumatetsu, who devours his rice with raw eggs. He fled to the streets because he didn't want to be anyone's disciple. The followers of Kumatetsu's opponent, Uzun, caught him in the city. Uzun instructed Kumatetsu to return him to the human realm after saying that he is his pupil. He said that because humans have darkness within of them, the worlds of humans and beasts are divided. Uzun was challenged to a fight by Kumatetsu, who stated that he had not observed anything like that inside Ren. A large crowd watched the battle as it took place in the midst of the market. The brutal struggle continued. Kumatetsu was initially in the lead, but once people began to support Uzun, everything changed. Ren observed how Uzun continued to dominate Kumatetsu and encouraged him. But Kumatetsu was quickly knocked out. The Grand Master broke up the altercation and gave Kumatetsu permission to keep his human apprentice. At his house, Ren told Kumatetsu that he doesn't mind being his disciple as long as he can become stronger. He started eating the raw eggs over rice, which he is truly repulsed by, to demonstrate his tenacity. Kumatetsu was incredibly happy with this. They began his swordsmanship instruction the following day. Ren is a poor teacher, but Kumatetsu is even worse. Ren was instructed by Kumatetsu to take the sword to his heart. Ren, though, doesn't get anything out of it. After becoming irate, Kumatetsu left them for a few days. When doing the tasks for Kumatetsu at the time, Ren was harassed by the child of Uzun. The two of them again argued about what the other lacked when Kumatetsu got back. How weak Ren is compared to Uzun, and how terrible Kumatetsu is. The Grand Master unexpectedly showed up and assigned Kumatetsu a task. To discover the meaning of strength, they must set out on a journey throughout the country to meet many renowned sages. As they traveled, the two of them frequently argued because Kumatetsu insisted that Ren complete tasks quickly. They encountered all 5 sages, who each provided them with a unique definition of strength. Ren worries that he will always be weak and untalented. Kumatetsu worries that he won't be able to instruct Ren in the meanwhile. Ren then began imitating Kumatetsu's every move in an effort to pick his brain. Kumatetsu was initially annoyed by it but eventually found enjoyment in it. Ren eventually developed the ability to anticipate Kumatetsu's movements and consistently evade his attacks. Ren pledged to teach Kumatetsu how to foresee the enemy's movements in return for him teaching him how to fight. Ren started getting stronger over time, and no one could abuse him any longer. When Ren developed, Kumatetsu also strengthened because he stopped concentrating solely on himself as a result of their joint training, which sharpened and improved his movement. As the years went by, Ren gained notoriety for his strength, and applicants for Kumatetsu's discipleship began to line up. One day, when Ren was rushing away from Kumatetsu, he found the alley that went to the human realm. To see if he could still read, he went to the library. He asked Kaede, who was a girl he met there, how to read the word whale written on the book he was trying to read. High school girl Kaede experienced bullying from her peers after she attempted to enforce some regulations in the library. Ren protected her from the bullies, and in return, Kaede taught Ren how to read. Ren then divides his time between learning to read in the human world and assisting Kumatetsu in instructing his pupils in the realm of beasts. The two then grew closer as time went on. Kaede admitted that her parents had intended her to do all she had done up to this point, including achieving outstanding marks. And right now, all she wanted to do was get out of her house. He was persuaded by Kaede to take the college admission exam for non-high school graduates. He cannot, however, take any of the examinations without a home address or family. While working on his family record, he uncovered the address of his father. He attempted to knock on the door at the address but gave up and left. He ran into his father on the way home, who at first didn't recognize him. This put him in a difficult situation. Choose to continue existing in the world of beasts or to live childhood shadow. It was the shadow that stalked him during his childhood's darkest period. Kaede noticed Ren was having a problem while she was in the library. Ren began questioning Kaede about whether he is a human or a beast as he became perplexed about it. Kaede was alarmed by this and smacked him in the face. Ren ultimately composed himself and offered Kaede an apology. Kaede gave Ren a charm and instructed him to glance at it if he ever felt lost. Ren is shocked to learn that Grandmaster has chosen the god he wants to reincarnate into at Ju Tengai. This indicates that the final match to choose the new Grandmaster has begun. The son of Uzun informed him that his father had been preparing for the fight non-stop. After that, they shook hands and vowed to remain friends no matter what happened. Ikiruhiko, Uzun's older son, attacked him as they were making their way home. Ren noticed the same blackness on Ikiruhiko's chest while she was being attacked. The struggle to become the new Grandmaster then started. Kumatetsu battled valiantly, but Uzun's quick techniques kept outpacing him. Ren yelled to Kumatetsu to not lose just before he was about to be tapped out. As a result of their quarrel, Kumatetsu got up to continue the battle. Then, Kumatetsu turned to fight while grinning. Similar to how he normally fought Ren. He knocked Uzun out after disabling his sword, at which point he was crowned the victor. Uzun departed the arena as Ren congratulated Kumatetsu. But, Ikiruhiko unexpectedly summoned his inner darkness's telekinetic strength to stab Kumatetsu with his father's sword. Ren's darkness emerged as he watched his father figure be stabbed, and he is now prepared to slash at Ikiruhiko. Fortunately, Chiko was able to stop him, and the sight of Kaede's charm helped to calm him down. Afterwards, Ikiruhiko's darkness completely engulfed him before dissipating. Having escaped the attack, Kumatetsu is currently unconscious. Uzun then explained how, after discovering Ikiruhiko as an abandoned baby in an alley, he had managed to save him from the human world. He also disclosed that the origins of his uneasiness, which gave rise to his darkness, were lying to Ikiruhiko about being a beast his entire existence. After learning this, Ren went in search of Ikiruhiko. Tatara and Hyakushuabu made an effort to dissuade him from seeking retribution. Ren, though, is not seeking retribution. He understood that the two of them are actually identical, but Ren is kept out of the darkness by those who reared him. He thanked them for everything and went. He ran across Kaede in the human world and thanked her for everything because he wasn't sure he could defeat Ikiruhiko. He was nevertheless unexpectedly ambushed in the middle of the street by Ikiruhiko. Ren and Kaede fled, but Ikiruhiko pursued them like a huge shadow. Wherever Ikiruhiko's shadow went, chaos and mayhem followed. The only option Ren can think of to overcome Ikiruhiko is to absorb the darkness of Ikiruhiko and kill himself in order to extinguish the darkness. Kumatetsu visited the Grand Master at the Ju Tengai to make a request to become a god. Since that is his only chance to save Ren. Ikiruhiko is attacking Ren and Kaede back in the human realm. Ren started absorbing Ikiruhiko's darkness as soon as he took his blade out of its scabbard. But immediately, a blazing sword appeared in their path. The Ju Tengai inhabitants came as well and informed Ren that the sword was Kumatetsu. Kumatetsu assumed the shape of a sword and changed into the deity of tools. After that, the blade entered Ren's heart. It became the sword that Ren could grip in his heart. Ren severed Ikiruhiko's darkness with the blade in his heart without killing him. He then presented Ikiruhiko Kaede's charm to him in order to aid him in self-control moving forward. Ren is hailed as a hero in the beast world. The Grand Master's right to become a god was taken away by Kumatetsu, forcing him to resume his role as Grand Master. Then Kaede and Ren meet up at the beast world. After returning to the human world, have that. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to our channel to get notified whenever we publish the next recap. Till then, take care. See you next time. Welcome to US Movie Recaps. In today's video, we will be enjoying a horror fantasy film, Vampire Hunter D, Bloodlust. There will be spoilers ahead, chill out and enjoy. Young Charlotte is taken hostage by Baron Meyer Link, a vampire nobleman with a history for not harming humans needlessly.
John Elbaum, Charlotte's father, hires D, a Dhampir, a person who is half human and half vampire.
He employs a Dhampir to find Charlotte and rescue her, or to kill her mercifully if she's been transformed into a vampire. He promises D a down payment of $500,000 and a possible final payment of $10 million. D agrees to look for Charlotte but demands that Elburn double the cash. Alan Elburn, Charlotte's older brother, hires a different team of vampire hunters at the same time. The notorious Marcus brothers, commanded by the enormous Nolt, a blade master by the name of Kyle, a psychic with physical disabilities by the name of Grove, and a woman by the name of Layla who hunts vampires for sentimental rather than financial purposes. The vampire hunting group encounters a wave of vampires on their way to see the noble vampire, and they end up murdering all of them. D encounters the vampire hunters on their journey and introduces them to one another. As D gives them his name before leaving, Borgoff claims that he is the renowned vampire hunter who is unfailing in his work. He is asked by one of the group's members not to compliment D because he opposes them. Dee advises himself to complete the task swiftly because the Marcus brothers might cause him difficulties. When Dee is traveling through the desert the next morning, he sits on his knees and checks the path with his hand, which has a face and a mouth on it and can tell things. His hand informs him that 6 hours ago, the vampire and Charlotte traveled along the same path. Then, he observes movement in the sand and a swarm of giant sand mantas arrive. His hand warns him not to walk that way because the mantas would not stop anytime soon, but Dee does not care. Dee arrives at Meyer Link's lair in the late afternoon and evades every assault. When the sun is near to set, Leela from the Marcus brothers gang shows up and is beaten by Meyer Link's chariot. Dee climbs onto the nobleman's carriage and starts to fight with him, but he backs down when he hears Charlotte calling for the vampire. Meyer Link is being chased by the two parties, Dee and the Marcus brothers. Meyer Link, on the other side, employs a gang of deadly mercenary bodyguards known as the Mutant Barbarois. Benj is a shadow puppeteer, Makira is a werewolf, and Caroline is a shapeshifter. Barbarois, a mutant, murders Nolt, one of the Marcus brothers, while Layla, Kyle, and Borgoff keep on looking for Charlotte. Dee goes to the Barbarois' residence to recruit them to assist him in freeing the girl, but they warn him that they have been faithful to the Nobels for a long time and will not betray them. Despite the fact that one of the Marcus brothers shows up and kills numerous Barbarois, the 3 Barbarois that the noble vampire hired manage to escape with the carriage while being pursued by Dee. The Marcus brothers must combat the Barbarois to defend Kyle after he is tossed out of the car. They visit a town in the morning, and as Dee goes to buy a horse for himself, one of the Marcus brothers requests that Layla go speak to the sheriff in the bar. She informs the sheriff of Dee's whereabouts. Dee is not permitted in town because he is a Damphir, nor are any nobles, therefore the sheriff goes to arrest Dee. When the sheriff, the old man selling horses, aims a gun at sheriff and informs him that Dee saved him many years ago and that he owes him a great debt. As the plot develops, Dee and Layla meet Charlotte, who explains that Meyer Link didn't actually kidnap Charlotte as it first appeared and that she voluntarily fled with him as her boyfriend. Despite the fact that Charlotte is a human and Link is a vampire, Charlotte is justified to worry that nobody will accept their relationship. Layla wants Charlotte to return and says it's silly to be with a noble, but before she can take Charlotte with her, the Barbarois attack her and Dee flees with Charlotte. Dee manages to overcome the shapeshifter while suffering from sun fever and finding it difficult to breathe, and now he is searching for a place to bury himself in the ground to recover. Layla assists Dee in burying the man because he is too weak to do it alone. As she prepares to leave, the shapeshifter attacks her once more while taking the form of a tree, but this time lightning destroys the tree, saving Layla. Dee finds Layla next to him when he regains consciousness, and they decide to look for Charlotte together. Layla tells Dee that she hunts vampires because a vampire killed her mother during their search and after both characters save one another from seeming death at different periods. Dee explains to her that as a Damphir, he must hunt vampires in order to survive, and that she has the opportunity to live a life that a person like him could never have, a life as an ordinary human. Because she took her own life as a vampire hunter rather than as a regular human, Layla is concerned that no one would grieve her passing. She strikes an agreement with Dee that whoever survives will bring flowers to the other person's tomb. The Marcus brothers ambush the Meyer Link carriage as it is traveling to the Chaith Castle. The noble vampire emerges in the sunshine to save Charlotte as the Marcus brothers are capturing her. The sight of a noble appearing in the sunlight for a human genuinely shocks them all. When she notices her sweetheart being attacked, she breaks free of the Marcus brothers' hands and rushes to give him a hug. She assures him that she won't ever abandon him. Kyle is killed by one of the Barbarois who strikes the brothers from behind. Following all of this, Dee is shown speaking to the figure on his hand and letting him know that he is aware of the reason why he does not want the noble and Charlotte to be together, which is that if they do, their future children will resemble him. Barbarois' werewolf attacks Dee but is repulsed and killed by him. Just before passing away, he declares that no Barbarois would ever betray their clients. Meyer Link drives Charlotte in his carriage to the castle of Chaith, where Countess Carmilla, Meyer Link's mother, is waiting for them. Back when vampires were all-powerful and unbeatable, Carmilla, a long-dead vampire's spirit, ruled over the castle of Chaith. The ancient and noble vampire king who is Dee's father, however, was so repulsed by her bloodlust that he killed her. Meyer Link and Charlotte will journey aboard a gigantic, ancient spaceship-like craft hidden beneath the castle of Chaith to the City of the Night, where they will be free to love each other, as Carmilla promises to them. According to Carmilla, similar ships were typically concealed under ancient castles, and during the vampire era, vampires frequently used these ships to go to far-off places. Carmilla notes the ship's age and the fact that it hasn't flown in a while, and she wonders if it will sail safely, but Meyer Link and Charlotte are free to take that chance if they want to. As they arrive, Carmilla sets the room up for them, and Charlotte asks Meyer to bite her and convert her into a vampire. Meyer hesitates before turning her, asking her to comprehend what it's like to live forever, how he feels bad about everything, how he gets savage and animal-like, and how he does not want her to suffer as much as he does. Meyer Link is followed individually to the castle of Chaith by Dee and the surviving Marcus brothers. Moreover, Carmilla plays mind games with them when they explore the castle in search of Charlotte. For example, Nolt and Kyle, the Marcus brothers' deceased members, are shown to Borgoff to have been revived. In his shocked and ecstatic state, Borgoff is likewise killed by Carmilla's spirit, and it turns out that Nolt and Kyle never came back to life at all. Layla is the only one of the Marcus brothers left, and she is still looking for Charlotte inside the castle. Carmilla tricks Dee into seeing a vision of his mother, who apologizes to him for giving birth to him as a Dhampir and says she couldn't help it because she was in love with Dee's vampire father as a human. She also tries to explain that humans may fall in love with vampires. Dee uses his sword to end this image of his mother, and things get back to normal. In a surprising turn of events, Carmilla turns on Meyer Link and Charlotte. Carmilla had actually intended to murder Charlotte because she believed that she required virgin blood to shed her phantom, ethereal form and resurrect. Just as Carmilla is carrying out the ceremony and drawing blood from Charlotte, Dee eliminates her spirit. Meyer Link opposes Dee taking Charlotte away from him, thus Meyer Link fights Dee in combat as part of Dee's ongoing determination to bring Charlotte safely home. Dee wounds Meyer Link but leaves him alive by using his sword to stab him in the chest rather than the heart. Charlotte passed away as a result of the ritual that Carmilla had been doing before to their encounter, and Dee removes the ring from her finger as evidence of her demise to send back to Elburn as he puts an end to his fight with Meyer Link. Dee and Layla leave the castle of Chaith, enabling Meyer Link to take Charlotte's body and the ship from the castle of Chaith to the city of the night. Layla laughs that the award is actually hers, but she'll give it to Dee this time as they agree to go back into town on Dee's horse. They watch in the distance as Meyer Link and Charlotte's body board the ship that is hidden beneath the castle and fly out. In the movie's climactic moment, Dee shows up for Layla's burial and stands back to observe her loved ones as they grieve. Several decades have gone by since all of the past events, as a little girl shown to be Layla's granddaughter comes and meets Dee, inviting him to spend some time with her family. Dee rejects and says he came to a favor for a longtime friend who feared no one would grieve her passing. Dee acknowledges that he felt relieved that she was wrong. The little girl thanks him, and Dee gives her a soft smile before leaving. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to our channel to get notified whenever we publish the next recap. Till then, take care. See you next time. Welcome to US Movie Recaps. In today's video, we will be enjoying a comedy adventure film entitled The Addams Family 2. There will be spoilers ahead. Chill out and enjoy. The film begins with Wednesday mixing up some wicked potion while she is preoccupied with her mad science world. At the school's science fair, in her little laboratory, Wednesday is the gloomy, black-haired sister of the weird Pugsley and daughter of the renowned Gomez and Morticia Addams. Morticia, Gomez and Pugsley attend her school to support her in the science fair. With the assistance of her incredibly supportive Uncle Fester, Wednesday is presenting her exhibit. Her presentation explores the idea of taking personality qualities from one creature and transferring them to another, sort of like swapping out a bad trait for a good one. Despite the fact that the demonstration for her exhibit was a big success, she strongly disagrees with the judge's decision that everyone who took part in the science fair was a winner. While still whining about the fair's outcomes, Wednesday receives a proposal to collaborate from the famous Cyrus Strange. Cyrus Strange is a well-known name in the field of science. Wednesday initially declined his offer but reconsidered after Pugsley and Uncle Fester made a major mess at the science fair. Back at the house, Wednesday fears that her loving family makes her intellect dull and her accomplishments unimpressive, so in an effort to change that, she works to strengthen the family's weakest link, Pugsley. After witnessing his nephew's failure with the ladies at the science fair, Uncle Fester pays a visit to Pugsley and gives him his self-published book on how to charm girls. Later that evening, Wednesday decides not to eat dinner with her family in an effort to avoid any further conflict. She believes that the obstacle preventing her from achieving a great scientific innovation is her parents' love and support for her. Noticing that Wednesday has been growing distant from her family, Gomez makes the decision to go on a road trip as a family in the hopes that it will strengthen their relationship. The next day, the whole Addams family gets ready for their road trip and some quality time together. A lawyer by the name of Mastella unexpectedly shows up and speaks with Gomez and Morticia right before they leave. He says that there may have been a hospital swap the night before his client's daughter was born. He insists that Wednesday is his client's daughter and demands a DNA sample to support their claims. Gomez and Morticia chuckle at the news, figuring that this was one of Wednesday's antics to get back at her parents for forcing her on the road trip. Just as the man left, He drew Wednesday's attention and she found his sudden appearance unusual. Mistella is not taking no for an answer, so he has chosen to follow the Addams family on their road trip while traveling. Fester was so lured by the advertisement for Niagara Falls that he decided to take a sharp turn away from Salem. The first stop for the Addams family is Niagara Falls. Attempting to cheer up Wednesday, Gomez and Morticia persuade her to see the waterfalls. Meanwhile, Pugsley gets distracted by a couple of girls, and Fester believes that this is the perfect opportunity to practice the movements from his book. Pugsley's attempt to impress Fester with one of his pickup lines fell flat. Wednesday makes the decision to help by pulling out his Pugsley voodoo doll and performing some sick dance routines. After what appeared to be a straightforward dance, Pugsley and the doll ended up plunging into the waterfall. When Morticia saw Mistella approaching them with a henchman, Gomez acquired some barrels to play with in the waterfall. To escape Mistella, Gomez snatches Wednesday and tosses her into a barrel, kicking it to the waterfall along with himself and Morticia. Wednesday witnesses her father's strange behavior. Following the unexpected family road trip and the inappropriate hugs from her father, Wednesday assumes that her father is actually dying. Back on the road, Morticia is concerned that she won't be able to contact Grandmama, Gomez's mother, who is looking after the house while they are away. She had a good reason to be worried because Grandma had chosen to throw a house party while they were gone. She offers invitations to random strangers in exchange for money. With more people arriving, Grandmama reveals the life of the party, the Singing Heads, claiming to have decapitated an entire barbershop quartet. When it appears that the guests are not overly enthusiastic about it, she flees. Back with the Addams family, they've finally arrived at their second stop, the iconic Sleepy Hollow, where they decide to tell stories of how Pugsley and Wednesday were born under the flames. Fester recalls the events of Wednesday's birth and how he visited her at the hospital at the time. Gomez and Morticia insist Fester recite the story because they think something was amiss. On that special day, Fester was heading to the hospital when he suddenly took a wrong turn and found himself in the nursery. He accidentally awakened all the babies by touching too many buttons, so in an effort to put them back to sleep, he juggles and tosses them around while telling them a bedtime story. At that point, Gomez and Morticia were convinced that Wednesday might not be their daughter and that Mistella might be telling the truth. Gomez and Morticia make the decision to leave the family campfire so they may talk about what to do. Gomez suggests they meet with a person who might have all the solutions. Wednesday, in the meantime, snuck up on the two and listened in on their conversation. Miami was the location of the next stop on their journey. The Addams family is enjoying a day at the beach, while Wednesday is tormenting some boys who happen to cross her path. She even uses her antics to annoy Pugsley. In the meantime, Fester scares everyone away by posing as a shark and trying to teach Pugsley a lesson about attracting a new kind of attention. The person Gomez has been waiting for arrives all of a sudden. Gomez's cousin ITT, he will travel with Gomez and his family on their road trip. The Addams family continues on to their next destination, San Antonio, Texas. Morticia and Gomez are in a panic as they notice Mistella is still on their trail. To keep the kids occupied, Gomez and Morticia suggest a fun family trip game. The butler for the Addams family unintentionally knocks Mistella and his henchmen into a bale of hay off the road. To avoid being seen, Gomez and Morticia make a small diversion before making a direct drive to the Alamo in an effort to hide Wednesday from Mistella. Gomez asks her to compete in the next Little Miss Jalapeno Pepper pageant. The rest of the family, on the other hand, dresses in less noticeable attire because they tend to stand out with their regular attire. Wednesday makes the decision to turn the tables on the other girls for pressuring them into the pageant. All the girls were covered in blood-red paint as Mistella drew nearer as the concert came to an end. Gomez shouts that Mistella is a well-known talent manager, and everyone rushes to him in the hopes of becoming famous. The Addams family escaped by taking advantage of the commotion. After all of their ruckus, Wednesday made the decision to speak with her parents. Gomez knows she has doubts, but he continues to avoid answering them. After getting some advice from ITT, he determined that the best action to take would be to find a place to hide until everything passes away. They reached the Grand Canyon the next day. While gazing at the Grand Canyon's size, an aeroplane comes for ITT. Wednesday is pulled away by Morticia for a short chat, and she is given a necklace that belonged to all of Addams' women. When they were about to share a mother-daughter moment, Pugsley suddenly detonated explosives and destroyed the Grand Canyon. Pugsley was making a big deal, which would draw attention to everyone while they were meant to be hidden, so Gomez took away his remote control. Later, when Wednesday is unable to stop glancing at the necklace her mother gave her, Mistella unintentionally falls into her trap. Wednesday questions him, desperate to learn the truth. Suddenly, his phone rings, and she realizes that Cyrus somehow staged the entire thing. Wednesday finally made the decision to take matters into her own hands and test the suitability of her and her father's DNA. She has discovered that she is not an Addams after solid evidence. Wednesday decided to flee and leave a note for her old family when she realized she wasn't alone because Lurch was right after her. At the trailer, Gomez has made the decision to pursue Wednesday and bring her home. Just as the Addams family came together, they became aware of Fester's physical changes. Wednesday and Lurch come upon a biker gang on their way to a local bar. Wednesday was expecting a little bar fight when all of a sudden Lurch started playing the piano and the entire bar began to sing and dance along with him. Wednesday and Lurch were able to catch a ride with the bikers to Sausalito, where her biological parents reside. Wednesday ultimately meets her supposed parents, who seem to believe what they say to be true. Cyrus tries to form a familiar bond with Wednesday through shared interests and experiments, but his efforts are disrupted when the Addams family arrives at his house. Gomez and Morticia try to persuade Wednesday to join them but are forced to accept the sad truth that Wednesday has decided to stay. Meanwhile, Pugsley has a love at first sight moment with the ex-daughter of Cyrus, Ophelia, who shares his hobbies. Later, Pugsley learns that Ophelia is a pig and tells his parents. Cyrus, who is hiding in the shadows, emerges before them and confesses that his wife and daughter are actually animals that he has given human characteristics. He struggles to maintain them in human form because, after a while, they always revert to their original forms. Later it became clear that Cyrus was solely chasing Wednesday's experiment since it contained all the missing pieces that his experiment lacked. As soon as Wednesday finished the formula in the lab, much to Cyrus' delight, he presented Wednesday with the Addams family and test tube containers and invited them to serve as their early test subjects. Cyrus suggests changing her family's irritating habits to those Wednesday wants instead. Cyrus discusses how their project will change the world and how much money they would make from it. Wednesday opposes altering the Addams family and tries to stop Cyrus. Wednesday calls Lurch, who engages in combat with Pongo, a henchman for Cyrus. It turns out that Pongo and Lurch had a history together. After Pongo switched to her side, they defeated Cyrus and set the Addams family free. Cyrus is covered in his wicked concoction, which transforms him into a massive winged beast. Cyrus, now a beast, is seeking revenge on the Addams family. Cyrus is challenged by Fester, who has transformed into a giant octopus. Fester is able to grasp hold of Cyrus and push him off the cliff. Fester is perishing in the meantime due to the alterations performed to his body. Wednesday understands that if she uses the necklace Morticia gave her to turn him around, everything will return to the way it was. Wednesday learns the value of being unique and being a part of a family. When the Addams family returns home, a wild celebration is organized. Morticia accepts it and joins the party with the rest of her family rather than becoming upset. Gomez explains that Welcome to US Movie Recaps. In today's video, we will be enjoying an adventure action film, entitled The Witcher, Nightmare of the Wolf. There will be spoilers ahead, chill out and enjoy. The movie opens up in the forest, some people are seen along with their moving truck, which they are using for their transportation, and when they get to a point, they stop and Sugo's father went out to get some things that they are going to need while they are in the journey. And while his father is gone, Sugo, who wanted to ease himself, tries to get out of the truck in order to pee even though his father has left him in the truck so that he will look after his sisters. However, while he was peeing, he was feeling relieved to the extent that he closed his eyes. However, his papa told him not to close his eyes and even his ear so that he can watch over his sisters because it was frightening the girls. Unfortunately, while Sugo's father was trying to comfort the girls that there are no bandits, he was killed by one of the lesson in the forest. Seeing their father killed, they were afraid, and they decide to run away in order to rescue their lives because they were all pursued by the lesson. But while they are all trying to run away, the sisters were all killed by the lesson. Sugo was the only one that was lucky to escape from the lesson. However, while he was running away, after the death of his father and sisters, trying to escape from the lesson in the forest, he could not help himself to the extent that he stopped running because he is tired and he cannot fight the lesson. However, while he was resting after running, someone grabs his back in order to help him to escape from the lesson and the person happens to be the Witcher. The Witcher keeps him away from the lesson so that he will not be killed or affected by the lesson. After a while, when the Witcher was trying to go away, the lesson attacked the Witcher to an extent that the Witcher had to use his superpower to attack it. And after a while, the Witcher was able to kill all the lesson that attacked him. But after killing them, Sugo thought that he is going to kill them but he did not kill them. So he asked him to kill them but Witcher told him that there are several ways to kill a lesson. Behead it, sacrifice a few of its furry pets and a few old dryad spells that can also be used to kill them. Suddenly, a lesson appears to him to fight him but the Witcher kills it with the fire that comes out of his hand. While the lesson was dying, he began to speak. Sugo was surprised to see the lesson speaking because he thought they did not speak. But the Witcher answers him based on his experience that they do not speak. After killing all the Leshen that attacked him and saving Sugo from them, the Weather visits the dead body of Sugo's father in order to get some coin from him. After the death of his father and his sister, Sugo finds his way to the city, and he was talking to the first lady of the city, and the Witcher told him that he should use his sad face on the alderman due to the death of his father and his sisters as well. And when he gets to the first lady of the city, he explains all that has happened in the forest to a woman, about the death of his father and his sisters, including the Leshen and the Witcher saving him. And the woman makes sure that she explains to the king based on the information she has gotten from the little boy, Sugo. But Madame Gilchrist made it clear to the king that Sugo's father was a treasured member of the assembly and a loyal subject to our king. She also adds to her speech before the king that she and her student resubmit their petition that the king should seize the Witcher home of Kaer Morhen and exile its occupants for the crimes against Kedwen's people. However, during the meeting, Madame Gilchrist tries her possible best to convince the king that the Witcher is bad, but she was unable to prove with any evidence. This made the king neglect her point. Vesemir begins to think about what happened to him during his youth age when he, along with his best friend Eliana, he was able to remember most of the things that happened to them when they are both young. However, the two of them were friends from childhood and they all move around together, to the extent that their friendship is well known to everyone around them. Vesemir and Eliana set up a plan in the market to steal from a man. According to the plan, Vesemir distracts the marketman by acting as if he steal a fruit. And when the market man tries to run after Vesemir and other to get back his product, Eliana, who has been hiding in a place not far from the man's shop, steals another item from the shop. And while the marketman is about to catch Vesemir, he drops the coin that is worth the amount of the product he carried and he left away. However, while the two promising friends were happy with their success according to their plan, they were approached by a Witcher, who realized their plan in the market, and he asks them to take him to the mistress that oppressed by Amar, or else he will take them to the market to expose them. However, they had no other choice but to listen to him, and they took him to the mistress. While he trying to cast out the Mar, he asks everyone to get out of the room so that they will not be affected by the demon. While everyone was trying to go out of the room, Vesemir insists that he will like to stay in the room to help Raglan the Witcher. However, when the demon gets out, Vesemir tries his best to get the demon killed, but he was unable to do that. After a while, Daglan killed the demon and he was rewarded for it. Enticed by promises of coins and riches, he wanted to be able to get more coins so that he can solve more of his financial problem. When he tried to explain to his best friend he loves, Eliana realizes that he is obsessed with a coin, so she decides to leave her. Vesemir traveled to Kaer Morhen, even though it was hard for him as the weather is not favorable during his journey. However, while the past is gone, now in the present, Vesemir is visited by the elf Filvandrel, who tells him that the Lechen spoke an ancient and forbidden tongue few dared to speak, which proved that the forest is cursed under a powerful spell. Meanwhile, the sorceress Tetra Gilchrist of the Kedwen court tries to instigate the king to wipe out the Witchers of Kaer Morhen, whom she deems to be an abomination. But her words are not heeded due to the zealous efforts of Lady Tserpst, who is sympathetic to the Witchers and their cause. Vesemir visits Kaer Morhen, where he reluctantly oversees the training of a young Geralt, Cohen, Lambert, and Ezekiel. Vesemir enters the castle and encounters one of his friends, Lucas. He reads a letter that claims that Witchers are only meant for killing and that there are no honest men among them. After some discussion, Vesemir goes to check on some recruits, who are irate because they haven't been trained. Vesemir then falls down a cliff and wakes up in a swamp, where he encounters Friedrich, one of the mages who creates Witchers, who informs him of the science behind both Witchers and monsters. Dieglin then enters the room to inform Vesemir that a letter has been sent for him. Then, we see Vesemir reading the letter that his childhood friend sent to Liana. In the letter, she informs Liana that his father was killed and that the village has been occupied by another family. We can also hear Eliana's voice throughout the letter. We see how Vesemir and the children are turned into Witchers, as well as the pain and suffering that the children must endure to become Witchers. The film also demonstrates how talented a Witcher Vesemir becomes after this. We then see Vesemir and his friend Luca enjoying a drink. However, a knight begins to criticize them, saying that they scare the populace and that they don't need to be doing this. Lucas gets up and begins making fun of the knight. He then becomes enraged and begins beating them. However, after a while, Vesemir and another fellow Witcher, Luca, are arrested for killing two knights in a bar fight. Lady Tserpst persuades the king to send Vesemir along with Tetra to rid the forest of Kitsu. She delivers the mission order to Vesemir, who recognizes her as the now 70-year-old Eliana. Vesemir and Tetra set out and she tells him the story of a young sorceress wrongfully killed by a Witcher as part of a con, and that she is convinced that all Witchers are corrupted. They find Kitsu, mutated and now able to cast powerful illusions and fight her basilisk. They kill the monster, but Kitsu escapes. Following Kitsu, The pair come across an old and abandoned elven school where they find the bodies of the other missing female elves. They rescue the captured Philavandrel, who explains that Kitsu tried to replicate the experiments that were done on her, and they conclude that the Witchers were responsible, creating new monsters to keep them in business. Vesemir surmises that the monsters he encountered were probably created in Kaer Morhen and leaves to confront Dieglin. As he departs, Tetra destroys Kitsu's den, finds Kitsu later surveying the destruction, and blames the Witchers. Back at court, she likewise tells the king of the Witchers' responsibility for the recent monster attacks and is given the authorization to lay siege to Kaer Morhen. The king has Luca wrongly executed despite Lady Tserp's protests. She then escapes, warning the Witchers. Dieglin admits to Vesemir creating the monsters, including Kitsu, to protect their way of life and is alerted by Eliana of Tetra's assault. Tetra and the local townsfolk attack Kaer Morhen with Kitsu and her monsters. Eliana helps the Witcher recruits flee into the mountains. Vesemir confronts Tetra, who has captured the mages and is holding them hostage in the basement. Kitsu arrives and plunges Vesemir into an illusion where he married Eliana and had a family. However, Vesemir can break out of the illusion and engages in a fierce battle with Tetra and her forces. He seemingly kills Tetra and Kitsu, only for it to be revealed as another illusion. He had instead mortally wounded Eliana and killed the mages, meaning that the art of creating more Witchers died with them. Tetra reveals she is the daughter of the sorceress killed by the swindling Witcher from her story before being killed by a dying Dieglin. He asks Vesemir to find the recruits and make them into better men before succumbing to his wounds. At the behest of Eliana, Vesemir allows Kitsu to flee, and he carries a dying Eliana from the burning castle. Vesemir takes Eliana to a lake, where she always dreamed of living. The two share a brief moment before she peacefully passes away. He then sets out and catches up to the recruits, including a young Geralt, taking them under his wing as the last batch of Witchers. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to our channel to get notified whenever we publish the next recap. Till then, take care. See you next time.
A city is demolished by the Hulk and Wolverine is sent to retrieve the Hulk. Welcome back to our channel, guys. Today we will be recapping the Hulk vs. Wolverine, spoiler alert. Watch out and take care. The movie begins on a lonely mountain. Wolverine narrate about himself, claiming he says he's the best at what he does. Unfortunately, what he does isn't good. He's on the cold mountain with injuries and could not recall the cause, so he questions himself. Suddenly, he sees Hulk jumping at him. In that moment he figures out what has happened, and it all started several hours ago. 4 hours ago, to be exact, Department H calls him to a location. As he travels on the plane, the officer asks him who he is, but he advises him that it is best if he does not know. They arrive at the location and they meet the head of Department H. He sees the cities in shambles. He asks the department head, who shows him the city's ruins of the small town and how devastating it was. He tells him a giant green creature has attacked the town and the creature is going towards the US-Canadian border. He says he thinks the force is involved in the calamity, and that's why they've called Wolverine. Wolverine goes nearer to one of the cars in the ruins. He sees a toy and envisions what occurred. He also catches the Hulk's toxic smells. The Department H heads orders him to find Hulk and kill Hulk before he destroys another city. He takes the plane alone with some of the force members and they see a mountainside. They figure the Hulk is around the mountainside and they ask if they should stop the plane. Down. As he climbs the mountain, he sees the human version of the Hulk. He is unaware that it is the same person who destroyed the city. In addition, he sees Bruce crying. He goes nearer to a timid-looking Bruce and asks if he has seen a huge creature around. Bruce, who assumes Wolverine wants to attack him, walks towards the rock and begs Wolverine to leave him alone. Wolverine is absolutely clueless that he is the creature and goes nearer to Bruce to ask about the Hulk. Wolverine pins Bruce to the rock, and when he gets closer he smells the toxicity on him. Wolverine figures the person in front of him may not be a good person, so he brings out his claws and pins him to the rock and promises him death with the third and middle claw if Bruce doesn't come clean and state who he is. Bruce, who dislikes getting angry, eventually gets angry. He screams and changes from his human form, then tosses Wolverine like a salad. Wolverine stands up in an attempt to fight back, but Hulk is more powerful. Hulk pushes him to the falls. They fight submerged, but Hulk hits him out of the water and the fight continues. However, Hulk knocks Wolverine down but keeps hitting him and repeating that he's the strongest person on Earth and no one is as strong as him. Hulk walks away thinking he has defeated Wolverine. But Wolverine stands up and calls his attention back. Wolverine asks that they fight again, but suddenly they hear gunshots. Some superpower holders shoot the both of them, and the person that fired was Wilson. He calls Wolverine by his real name, Logan. While incapacitated, Wolverine remembers his past. He walks out of a bar drunk, and as he takes the last sip from his bottle, he sees an older man, the professor, looking at him. He asks the man why he is looking at him, but the man hits him. He calls for backup and they carry him away. Logan wakes up in an experimental cage. The professor asks his worker to switch on the adamantium on Logan, and this leads to the development of his ability. The professor is creating a team of fighters which he calls warriors. Before Logan's process, one of the warriors named Sabretooth warns the professor about turning Logan into one of them and says it may not go as well as he thinks. As Logan's process continues, he changes form, he breaks out of the cage and kills all the security without breaking a sweat. He breaks through the barriers and gets to the professor, and he cuts his hands before jumping out of the building after killing some guards. As he wakes, he finds himself tied. The professor tells him they have been looking for the Hulk for a long time, and thanks to Department H, he was able to help them find him. He says the last city was a casualty that happened during one of their chases, and if Department H had sent Wolverine, the people wouldn't have died. He asked the professor what he wants to do with Hulk, and the professor tells him he wants to turn him into a weapon, just like he wants to make Wolverine a weapon. If you are enjoying this recap, remember to subscribe to get notified whenever there is a new upload. He tells him he will erase the memory of both Hulk and Wolverine, and they will work for him. Wolverine asks him to kill him now that he has the opportunity, because if he gets out he will kill all of them. As the professor leaves, Wilson approaches a binded Wolverine and tells him that Deathstrike has attempted to kill him earlier and Deathstrike hates him especially. Wilson asks if he still has the iron head and hits him with a gun. Wolverine blacks out and wakes up in the experimental cage. He sees Deathstrike in front of him, and she tells him she will kill him whether the professor likes it or not. The professor arrives with Sabretooth and asks Deathstrike what she's doing there, then asks her to leave. He informs her he's about to erase Wolverine's memory, but Deathstrike attacks him and kills him. Deathstrike breaks Wolverine's cage, and she and Sabretooth prepare to kill Wolverine. Deathstrike attacks Wolverine. Sabretooth tells her not to kill him, but she releases her claws and stabs him. He regains his strength and fights back. He hits Deathstrike until she falls. He goes right after her and detaches her android hands since she's weak. He leaves the room and finds his way to where Hulk is locked. He sees Bruce in the cage and breaks him out. As Bruce comes out, he tells him to please save him. He says Hulk must not get into the hands of evildoers and begs Wolverine to help him out. Wolverine walks out with him, but on the way he tells him he doesn't care about his story. On the other hand, Sabretooth and Deathstrike call the other warriors. They see the professor on the ground, and Sabretooth lies that it was Wolverine who killed the professor. He says the professor has commanded them to kill Wolverine, and the others accept, unknown to them, that it's a trap. One of the warriors, Omega, who uses an electric whip, finds Wolverine and Bruce as they are about to escape. He jumps at Wolverine, but Wolverine protects Bruce. Eventually Wolverine subdues Omega for a while and sets out to run away with Bruce. He tells Bruce that the other enemies are coming, and he asks Bruce to bring Hulk out, but Bruce tells him he can't bring Hulk out. Bruce explained to him that he doesn't control Hulk and he can't direct Hulk, as Hulk only comes out whenever he's angry, and the drugs the professor has given him is stopping him from anger. To force Hulk out, Wolverine stabs Bruce and leaves him there. Wolverine goes to fight their enemies. He starts with Sabretooth and hits him before moving to Deathstrike. However, when he loses control, Omega carries him with his electric web and prepares to electrocute him. Luckily Hulk wakes, and he hits Sabretooth out of the building and pushes Deathstrike away. Then Wilson and Omega attempts to attack him. Omega uses his second whip on Hulk, allowing Wolverine to escape from the first whip. Eventually Hulk defeats the enemies and then sets out to attack Wolverine, who reminds him that they are on the same side. Hulk doesn't reply. He keeps chasing Wolverine, then Wilson comes from behind to throw an explosive into Hulk's mouth, hoping he will die. Wolverine tells Wilson that he has only succeeded in making Hulk more angry. The bomb explodes, but Hulk survives. As Hulk attempts to attack Wolverine again, Wolverine throws Wilson at him. While Hulk fights Wilson, Wolverine escapes, but Omega climbs into the building to attack him. Deathstrike also returns to fight Hulk. She scratches Hulk's body, and that gets him irritated. She keeps jumping over him and cutting him until he eventually gets hold of her and rips her hands off. He goes to find Omega, who's fighting Wolverine, and hits Omega to the wall. He prepares to destroy the laboratory and eventually does. But before it explodes, Wolverine jumps out. After the building explodes, Hulk comes out and jumps to fight Wolverine again. Thank you for watching, guys. Please remember to subscribe to this channel for more animated recaps. The movie begins with a group of travelers experiencing a very serious storm during their trip, but something more terrifying gets their attention, which was two dragons fighting until one of them kills the other. The scene suddenly takes us to a kingdom called Inland, where the king is presented with lots of bad news by his officials. The kingdom is now in jeopardy because the livestock has been dying mysteriously and the people are falling sick from an unknown disease. The king did not allow this to dissuade him, as he gets his official to strategize on how they can tackle the predicaments. But things got seriously out of hand when those travelers from earlier appeared before the king and informed him on how they saw dragons fighting. The priest of the kingdom prophesied to the king that dragons appearing in their land is a sign that a huge misfortune is coming. The worried king, fed up from all this, goes to his room to rest, but a little boy emerges with a dagger and stabs the king. The boy is the king's son, Aaron, so why would he kill his father? He grabs his father's sword and runs away in confusion. Moments later, he got to the desert. He was chased by a pack of wild dogs. Aaron gives up and accepts his fate to die after being surrounded by the hungry creatures. But a wandering wizard uses his magic and scares the pack away. Aaron then falls unconscious from a shock. He wakes up during the night feeling insecure and searches for his sword. The wizard returns his sword to him to show he means no harm. As a wizard, this man was able to tell that the sword he is holding was forged with magic and believes it to be useless with him because it takes a person chosen by the gods to unsheath the sword. The next morning, the wizard, who knew that Aaron has nowhere to go, tells him to accompany him on his journey. As the young prince agrees on joining him, the wizard uses the chance to reveal his name as Sparrowhawk. They travel for 2 days and night until they finally arrived at a really huge city called the Hort Town. Aaron couldn't believe it when he saw a girl chained up in a cage like an animal. Sparrowhawk had to explain to him that the girl is a slave and slavery is a legal business in this town. They branch to a clothing shop where Sparrowhawk buys Aaron a cloak to disguise himself, knowing what could possibly happen if anyone sees the magical sword he was holding. As they were roaming around the market, an old man drags Aaron to a place and presented him with something which he called Nezha, capable of wiping out all his sorrows and fears in one bite. The old man tells him he doesn't require any payment, which made Aaron wanting to give it a try, but Sparrowhawk stopped him. He showed Aaron some people lying lifelessly on the floor and explains that if he had eaten the Nezha, his spirit would have left his body and wander aimlessly in darkness. After washing up, they both have a talk for a while, where Sparrowhawk tells him that the livestock's dying and people falling sick in the land is not natural. He believes someone is trying to disrupt the balance of this world. Sparrowhawk goes to the inn to get some rest while Aaron chooses to have a moment alone. There, a mysterious wind comes at him in full force. He doesn't know what it is, but runs away from it as fast as he could until he sees a young girl who is being chased by a group of men. Looking at the scar on her face, those men believe she won't be worth the cent to be sold into slavery, so they decided to take advantage of her body. But that's when Aaron comes out and tells the men to leave the girl alone. They started to attack him instead, but they were knocked out easily by Aaron, while the third one, who seemed to be in charge, handed over the little girl to him in fear and ran away for his life. Aaron goes to check if she's all right, but the girl arrogantly pushes his hand away, showing no sign of gratitude. She runs away. When a woman calls onto her name from afar, as a result Aaron is able to catch her name. Her name was Theru. He let his guard down and fell asleep at a staircase, but was awakened by a foot to his stomach. It turns out to be those men he defeated earlier. They came to return the favor. Their leader showed up with much more men to get revenge. Aaron was outnumbered and was captured by those men. They had decided to sell him for a really good price into slavery. Gabe, the leader of the mob, tossed his sword away into the river, thinking it's just an old piece of junk. On their way taking Aaron and the other slaves to be sold, the bulls which they were using for transportation stopped moving. All of a sudden, and even though they whipped the bulls, it wasn't working. A bright light suddenly illuminates the area and Sparrowhawk comes after the light like he was Jesus himself and breaks the chains on Aaron's hand with a simple touch. He freed the other prisoners too and left them to escape. He takes Aaron to the house of one of his old friend called Tenna, who tended to his injuries and laid him to rest. As a close friend, she knew Sparrowhawk is not a person that loves traveling around and asked him what is wrong. He replies that the balance of the world has been disturbed, so he is going from town to look for a solution. Tenna has been taking care of a girl who was abandoned by her parents, and she is revealed to be that girl who Marine saved from the slave traders, who seems to be afraid of strangers according to Tenna. But Sparrowhawk senses something really extraordinary about this girl. Those men who are being led by Gabe is revealed to be working for a powerful sorcerer called Cub, who was initially the one that gave them the orders to capture people as slave. She was going to kill them all for their carelessness losing the slaves, but calms down when she hears it to be the doing of a wizard who has a scar on his face. She knew it was no other person but one of the most powerful wizard in their land called Sparrowhawk. She told her men to capture him no matter what. Aren wakes up from unconsciousness and joins them for breakfast, where he surprisingly sees the girl Thero, who walks out angrily after he joined them for breakfast. While they continue to stay with Tenna in their house, they had to assist her in the farm so they can have enough food for themselves. Aren asked Sparrowhawk in confusion on why he isn't using his magic to make work easier for him, but he replies that spells should only be made during time of necessity in nature, like trees, wind, and animals are meant to be processed on their own. Aren goes to meet Thero to know why she is so angry with them for no reason, but she walks away saying she hates anyone who doesn't has value for human lives. Later that night, Aren had a nightmare where he saw the spirit of his father, who was asking why he killed him. Sparrowhawk goes out the next day saying he has some important business to take care of and begs Tenna to watch over Aren. Gabe and his men arrive shortly after he left and bribes some passerby who informs them on where Sparrowhawk was last seen. These men invaded Tenna's house, destroying the whole places with their horses, asking for Sparrowhawk whereabouts. However, they realized he wasn't with them and they rode their horses away without hurting anyone. Sparrowhawk discovers Aren's sword in a shop in the market, which the shop owner believes would be the most useless among all his items because it cannot be unshielded. Sparrowhawk still decides to buy the sword, and he also learns about the evil sorcerer called Cub, who he suddenly suspects to be the cause of the imbalance in the world. Gabe and his men saw him, but Sparrowhawk uses a spell to disguise himself, making the men to believe they mistaked him for someone else and went on with their search. Aren sees Thera singing alone in the fields. This song made him really emotional and opens up to her, telling her that he killed his father, but tells her it wasn't intentional. It felt like there was an unknown force who possessed him that moment to do it. Aren believes that same kind of thing might happen to him again and decided to leave Tenna and Thero so he won't hurt them just like he did to his father. As he walked aimlessly in the darkness, he sees an evil reflection of himself and runs away, but in the process he falls in the lake and begins to drown. The evil sorcerer Cub watches this in his crystal ball and flies away by turning into a mysterious winged creature. Meanwhile, Gabe and his men returns to Tenna's house on orders from Cub. They caputate Tenna Thero a message to pass on to Sparrowhawk. If he doesn't want Tenna to be harmed, he should come alone to the castle where their leader is waiting for him. Meanwhile, the evil spirit of Aren showed up again and tries to possess him, but gets stopped by Cub, who casted the spirit away and takes off with an unconscious Aren. Aren wakes up in Cub's castle as he gave him a herb to drink to make him feel better. But without his knowledge, it was a portion intended to brainwash him, making him believe Sparrowhawk was an evil person and Aren is some kind of key to opening a gate that gives eternal life. Thero manages to loose herself from the ropes and meets Sparrowhawk, who is on his way back, informing him that Tenna has been kidnapped and Aren has gone missing. He handed her Aren's sword and told her to get it to Aren in case he returns, and he rides to the castle of Cub. He hurdles the guards with his magic and he meets Cub, who reveals his aim to open the door between live and death to gain eternal life, but Sparrowhawk rebels against this, knowing fully well if that kind of thing happens, it will only disrupt the balance of the world. The sorcerer turns Aren against Sparrowhawk, who began to fight him against his will, but Sparrowhawk was able to disarm him. While distracted trying reverse Aren's brainwash, Sparrowhawk was captured by Gabe and his men. He realizes he is getting weaker and is not able to defend himself until Cub lets him know he just walked into a trap because his magic will not work inside her castle. Cub places Sparrowhawk in same prison with Tenna. The plan is to finish them by tomorrow in the most gruesome and humiliating manner. While running with the sword, Thero sees Aren in a far distance and follows him, ending up at the castle of Cub. He tells her that both Tenna and Sparrowhawk are captured in the palace. While Thera tries to give Aren his sword so they can rescue them, she realizes he is not actually Aren but just his spirit. Everyone has a dark and light version in them, and as for Eren, the light version was separated from his body. The spirit disappears and Thero had to sneak into Cub's castle to rescue them all by herself. She overhears a conversation between Gabe and his men which reveals the location of Eren. She finally found him, but by then he was already in the depths of despair. Thero explains the meaning of life to him and hugs him, which breaks the curse of the evil sorcerer Cub. The light version of Eren returned to his body. They see Sparrowhawk and Tenna from afar, who were about to be executed by the men. Sparrowhawk is about to be pushed off the castle, but that was when Eren showed up. He defeated Gabe and his men with ease. They ran away in fear. He then challenges the evil sorcerer. Cub uses his magic to try and kill him in the most brutal way possible, but Eren overcame his fear and asked his sword let him unshield it. A bright light comes out of the sword as Eren was finally able to unshield the sword forged with magic and cuts off the sorcerer's arm, revealing his true form as a really old hollow-eyed man. Furiously, the old sorcerer attacked Thero instead and catches her. Eren chases after them to the very top of the castle, where he sees Thero about to be strangled to death. The sorcerer casted a spell destroying the brick Eren stood on, causing him to almost fall off the roof of the castle. Helpless in that state, he painfully watches as Thero is killed. Just as the sorcerer laughs menacingly, Thero surprisingly re-emerges like a phoenix from the ash, and she suddenly transforms into a dragon, using her fire to burn the old sorcerer alive. As he died, his castle also began to collapse, but Thero shows up to save the day once more and carries Eren far away from the danger. They went to the fields, and unlike anyone, Eren accepted Thero for what she is, and they both embraced each other. Sparrowhawk and Tenna are also revealed to be safe. Eren bows down to Sparrowhawk, thanking him for everything. After spending some happy moment with Tenna and Thero, Eren and Sparrowhawk travel back to inland when Eren wants to face the consequences for killing his father. Thero sees more dragons flying in the movie's end. Do you think she will join then? Put your answers in the comments. Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe for more and hit the notification bell to get notified whenever we upload new content.
Welcome to US Movie Recaps. In today's video, we will be enjoying a family comedy film, entitled Luck. There will be spoilers ahead, chill out and enjoy. Sam Greenfield, an orphan, is shown dancing with her friend Hazel in front of a green screen when the screen falls on her and Hazel claims she attracts bad luck. They then enter a house where Hazel shows her collection of lucky items. Sam notices that she has a spot for a lucky penny. As they decide to continue filming the video, the orphanage's supervisor enters the room and informs Sam that a social worker is waiting for her outside. Sam tries to talk with the woman, but she tells him that she must leave the house because she is older than 18. Sam hugs Hazel and promises to look for a lucky penny. Then, as the social worker drives Sam to her new home, she warns her that in order to stay there, she must either have a job or be a student. The next day, Sam wakes up to her alarm and a man with a leaf blower blows leaves into her room as she rushes to close the window. She then realizes she will be late for her first day of work and struggles to prepare while going through a series of unfortunate events. Sam eventually arrives at her workplace and meets her boss Marvin. She performs a variety of tasks, but her misfortune prevails, and Marvin tells her to gather carts. Later, when she visits Hazel, she learns that the couple who had planned to adopt her has changed their minds. Sam comforts her and assures her that she will find her forever home. One night, as Sam is eating a panini on the curb, a black cat comes over and joins her for the meal. Sam laments her situation as the cat leaves with the sandwich, and as it runs away, she notices a penny on the ground. The next day, Sam wakes up with a series of luck, realizes the lucky penny is working and rides to work in excitement. In the bathroom, Sam mistakenly drops the penny down the toilet as she tries to retrieve it. Her sweat triggers the sensor and the toilet flushes. Sam laments on the curb and sees the cat. She says she got a lucky penny, and as she says she accidentally flushed it down the toilet, the cat yells at her and she learns it can talk. She understands the cat owns the penny and asks it for another. She tries to chase the escaping cat but fails and tumbles into a trash can due to bad luck. Sam stands up when she hears the voice of the cat, whose name is Bob. She sees him whining and typing on a holographic keyboard before the Bobcat opens a strange portal and goes in. Sam jumps in as well before the portal closes, and she finds herself in the realm of good luck. Bob tells her that humans aren't supposed to be there and asks her to go. She replies that she will leave when he gives her another penny, and he explains that the penny is a travel penny. Sam is forced to hide when Bob overhears someone approaching them. She later sees that the individuals are leprechauns and sees them managing the flow of luck. When Bob asks the leprechauns about his assistant Jerry, they respond that Jerry is in the penny depot. Bob then says that he will personally return the travel penny. After the leprechauns leave, Sam advises him to pick up a penny from the penny depot. She also provides Bob a button to buy them sometime. Bob fears to be expelled if the captain finds out he lost his travel penny. Sam slipped past them as they opened Jerry's locker and took his clothes, while Bob distracted the captain who dislikes him. Sam tells the leprechaun she is a Latvian leprechaun, which makes her big, and they believe her and they walk through the land of luck. Sam is asked to follow Bob, but when she has terrible luck, Bob advises her that lucky people don't try to be lucky, and she accepts his advice. Sam and Bob enter the building once they arrive at the penny depot, where Jerry is waiting for them. Bob asks him to act as her guide because cats are not permitted there, and he accepts. Sam and Jerry enter the building, and she sits on a tiny chair. Sam obtains the button when Jerry tells her to remain seated and grab a penny. However, when Sam tries to take a different coin, she causes a commotion and the button is taken to the arrivals and departures section. Sam steps out of the building, and Bob tells her that they have lost their only shot at a penny. Jerry asks why they need a penny, and Sam reveals that she is human, and Bob has lost his travel penny. When the captain arrives to the building, he notices Bob hiding behind Jerry and orders some leprechauns to search the building for bad luck. When Bob and the others go, Jerry says that they use bunny drones to find missing crystals. He explains they'll need a luck crystal to power the drone. As they enter a building, everyone turns to look at Sam. Bob diverts their attention, and they leave. They watch as good luck is created and a dragon named Babe, the only animal that has the ability to detect bad luck, arrives. Some pigs turn the good luck leaves into crystals, and Bob helps Sam in retrieving one. Jerry heads to the bunny drone, while Sam and Bob make their way to mission control. Sam is told by Bob that the good and bad luck crystals are converted to dust and spread around the human world by the randomizer. When they get to mission control, Jerry turns on the bunny. Sam notices that the other rabbits are watching the bunny drone, so she sings and dances to divert their attention while the other bunnies join her and the bunny drone grabs the lucky penny. Sam and Bob hear the captain say that the button caused a cat to be hurt in the human world. She shows the suspects, and Bob's image appears. Jerry notices that the bunny drone is dirty and goes to put on gloves. However, the drone is sucked into the cleaning pipe and sent to the in-between. He tells Bob and Sam and says they can get it back before Jeff, the unicorn in command of the in-between, gets there. However, as they enter an elevator, Sam unintentionally presses a button that would send them to bad luck. Because the realm of bad luck resides beneath the realm of good luck, gravity is reversed as Sam walks out of the elevator and the door becomes stuck. Bob gives her instructions on how to return to the world of luck. Sam hurriedly searches the realm of misfortune for the structure Bob had mentioned. She eventually arrives there but encounters a string of misfortunes along the route. Sam enters the building and discovers a small gate. When she enters the door, a big object falls, and she barely avoids being hit by it. She looks down and notices Bob through the ground. He unlocks the glass, and as Sam jumps through, he tells her that the bad luck realm is the mirror opposite of the good luck realm. When Jeff arrives, he follows a path of bad luck dust to Sam and Bob. Sam's shoes are covered in unlucky dust, which Jeff removes and tells her his mixing machine prevents the dust from sticking together. When Jeff displays a locket of him and Babe to Sam, he describes their love and how it ended due to work. Bob is going through the trash when Jeff arrives and tells him that he discovered a drone. He claims to have seen the filthy penny and sent it to the penny depot. Sam and Bob depart from the in-between, and Sam plans to meet Babe. Sam adds that if Babe could aid Jeff, she might be able to help Sam as well. When Sam gets to Babe's office, Babe is overjoyed because she thinks the woman is a tall leprechaun. Babe also smells a bad luck particle and tells the bunnies to get rid of it. When Sam apologizes, Babe explains that bad luck is cruel. Sam claims to be having a horrible day, and Babe feels guilty. She receives a fortunate penny from Babe as they discuss how the world would be better if only good luck existed. Sam thanks her and exits the office with joy. As she walks, Sam observes Bob being taken into custody by the captain. By giving him the penny and claiming it slipped off his collar, she chooses to save him, and the captain releases him and drives off. Bob asks Sam why she protected him but didn't give Hazel the penny. Sam tells Bob that she can't abandon him to bad luck. She recalls Jeff's machine and advises that they temporarily switch it off so that Hazel might have good luck and get adopted. Bob likes the plan, and Sam switches off the machine. When they visit Mission Control, they discover that only luck spreads globally. Sam and Bob arrive at the portal, and Sam expresses her hope that her bad luck won't stand in the way of her doing something meaningful with her life. As they speak, they hear a loud noise and notice bad luck smoke moving through the walls. When Jeff finds that the machine has been turned off, the device explodes, dispersing bad luck particles throughout the domain of good luck. The good luck stone is also shattered. Babe claims that in order to make a good luck stone, she needs fortune. They notice that all the pennies have been tainted, so Bob takes off his collar and provides his hidden penny, which they then discover to be tainted. When the captain and the others learn that Bob isn't a lucky cat, he admits that he had 9 lives of terrible luck before he discovered the penny and found his way to good luck. Babe explains to them that they are cut off from the rest of the world while the bad luck stone destroys. Sam believes there must be a way and confesses she is a human. Babe says she shouldn't have come to their realm, and they walk away disappointed. Bob apologizes for not giving Sam his penny while she is sitting on the ground. He says that he feared losing his good fortune, and Sam blames herself for being to fault for their situation, claiming that Hazel would be happier without her. Sam is an excellent person, according to Bob, because she cares more about others than herself. When he says Hazel is the happiest girl in the world since she has her as a friend, Sam starts crying and says they are tears of joy. Sam recalls seeing a green light in bad luck and concludes that it must be good luck. As Sam recalls the location, Bob remembers it and leads her to the building as they arrive at bad luck. Sam is horrified when they enter the building, but she soon understands that the unfortunate people aren't bad. They meet the bartender and Bob's friend. When they explain their situation and ask about the whereabouts of the good luck charm, Rutai leads them to a machine known as the Lucky Shot and informs them that it is used for amusement. He gives them luck and assures them that the others will find other ways to entertain themselves. When they get back to good luck, Sam gives the Babe the crystals of good and bad luck. Babe forges 2 lucky stones and 1 unlucky stone using her dragon flames. She brings the good luck stones to the randomizer, saying she wishes to eliminate bad luck. Sam pursues her, and as they converse, she persuades her to reinstate both good and bad luck because bad luck benefits them. Babe decides that Sam is correct, so he puts both the lucky and unlucky stones in the randomizer. After they jump out of the machine starts spreading good and bad luck. As Hazel is adopted, Sam and Bob watch with happiness. Babe goes to bad luck with the others to meet the creatures of bad luck. Sam hands them the second good luck stone, which they insert into the fortunate shot machine. Bob is given a lucky collar and the captain offers him a position. Bob says he wants to live out the rest of his life with Sam in the human realm and declines the offer. Sam agrees, and they hug. A year later, Sam gets promoted to manager. As she exits the store, she meets Bob on her bicycle. They ride to Hazel's house, where her parents agree to let them spend the night together. The next day, they return to Sam's house and have fun despite her bad luck. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to our channel to get notified whenever we publish the next recap. Till then, take care. See you next time. Welcome to US Movie Recaps. In today's video, we will be enjoying an action animation film entitled Batman Ninja. There will be spoilers ahead. Chill out and enjoy. The film begins at Arkham Asylum, where Batman tries to stop Gorilla Grodd from starting his Quake engine. Grodd was able to throw Batman over the building when Catwoman sneaked in just before the machine activated. Batman tried to grab the device, but the next thing he knew, he was in feudal Japan. Still trying to make sense of everything. Batman is being attacked by armored samurais, and more samurai are on the way. Having made the decision to go, Batman used a smoke bomb as cover before realizing he had nowhere to use his bat hook because there were no tall buildings around. Later that evening, he came to the castle secretly to get some intel. He sees Joker talking with a security guard when another Joker approaches from behind. It turns out that the second Joker was actually Harley Quinn disguising herself to deceive Batman. The Joker reveals that he is currently known as the Demon King and is the most powerful person in Japan. Suddenly, their argument escalates into a fight in which Batman is attacked by the Joker, who is acting somewhat ninja-like and hurling razor-sharp fans at him. Batman barely manages to escape after being surrounded by samurai soldiers. Later, Catwoman encounters Batman as he is trying to escape his pursuers. She says that they arrived in feudal Japan 2 years before him and have been waiting for his arrival ever since. Batman says that he wasn't alone when he entered Arkham that evening and wonders where Nightwing, Red Hood, Red Robin, and Robin vanished. Batman believes Grodd held him up back then, which would have led to his later arrival than everyone else. According to Catwoman, the most notorious criminals in Gotham have tricked the Sengoku daimyo and are now lords of their own states. They are at war with one another in an effort to conquer and reunite Japan under one ruler. The Penguin has taken over the state of Kai, where he is engaged in conflict with the neighboring state of Ichigo, where Poison Ivy is in power. Meanwhile, In the state of Natsu, Deathstroke reigns supreme, while Two-Face has taken control of the state in Omi. Among its contenders, the Joker, with Harley Quinn by his side, is the closest feudal lord to achieving his goals. When Catwoman offers a partnership with Batman, Batman suggests that in order to clean up this mess, they need to locate Gorilla Grodd. He finds from Catwoman that the Joker keeps Grodd's time machine in a tower, where it is heavily guarded by the Joker army and kept behind locked doors. The next day, Batman and Catwoman dress as Christian missionaries, which, according to her, was highly common in that era, so they shouldn't stand out. Catwoman shows to Batman that the Joker is up to something evil, given that he has his men gathering coal. They stop at a tea cafe where Batman meets up with his oldest employee Alfred Pennyworth as they try to decide their next course of action. After that, they take Batman to an unofficial Bat Cave, where the Batmobile is kept secret. According to Catwoman, Alfred was in the Batmobile when the device went off, which is why he was also transported back in time. Batman is happy to have kept it secure, but the Joker's goons suddenly attack and set fire to the building. Batman leaves Alfred in Catwoman's care because he is determined to find the Joker. Nothing can stop Batman as he advances with the Batmobile toward the castle of the Joker. Concerned that Batman is approaching the castle too closely, Joker tells Harley to switch on Arkham Castle, transforming it into a gigantic robot fortress. The Batmobile was captured, but Batman managed to escape by converting it into the Batwing. When the Batwing came too close, it got tangled in the giant robot's claws, so Batman disassembled it into the Bat Cycle and flew over to the Joker. With the Joker at his fingertips, Batman is forced to go down instead and save a helpless mother and child who are about to be crushed by the giant robot hand. His Bat Cycle is interrupted when Sumo Bane appears and captures it with its hands. To get rid of Sumo Bane, Batman turns his Bat Cycle into the armored Batman, brushes Bane aside, and stops the giant robot hand. Before it crushed them both, Batman rolled to safety. He tells the mother to flee to safety when it turns out to be Harley in disguise and she hammers Batman. Batman is hurt and surrounded by the bad guys. When Joker mockingly asks where his friends are, a swarm of bats suddenly charged at them, and Batman saw a ninja appear before him to take him away. Later, Nightwing and Red Robin reunite with Batman. They let him know that while Robin is searching for Alfred and Catwoman, Red Hood is on a scouting mission throughout the other feudal states. Batman also meets Ian, the Ninja Clan's chief. Ian says that an old prophecy linked to the Hida Bat clan predicts that when the country is in chaos, a foreign ninja appearing in the form of a bat will arrive to bring about order. They swear allegiance to Batman and support him in his endeavors. They are concerned that they lack any means of defense against Joker and his men. Robin returns from the mountain with a message from Grodd to meet at a local hot spring. Grodd says that he planned to send Gotham's criminals to a distant location so that he could take over the city for himself, but the machine malfunctioned when Batman intervened. Batman and Grodd decided to collaborate in order to lure the Joker and achieve the goal. Joker is drawn out to sea by Grodd, where Batman and his men are waiting. When Batman pretended to have the Joker's ship surrounded by ninjas underwater, the Joker and his crew pulled out their Gatling guns and fired at what they believed to be ninjas, only to discover that they were actually only dummies in the water. The real ninjas climb onto Joker's ship while they are in the submarine. Red Robin, Nightwing, and Robin board the ship to take on the Joker's men, while Harley and Catwoman square off. Joker is cornered by Batman and Grodd, who quickly capture him. When the fight is done, Grodd plans to pull a fast one on Batman, who pulls out his mind control tool, but unfortunately for Grodd, the ninjas have trained their bodies and minds well enough to be immune to mind control. Grodd still has a trump card up his sleeve when Two-Face arrives and begins firing at the Joker's ship. Choosing to leave the group, Catwoman has allied with Grodd and Two-Face. She has promised to go back to the future in exchange for Harley's power converter, which she took from Harley during their fight. As Joker's ship sinks, Batman finds that the Joker and Harley have managed to escape their bonds and grab a container of explosives. Batman urged Red Robin to flee with the others as he chases the Joker. Joker intends to flee, but not before lighting the barrel on fire and destroying his ship along with Batman. Grodd brings Catwoman back to Arkham Castle. As he gives his men instructions to fix the armored fortress in preparation for the upcoming battle. Grodd informs the other daimyo that they will meet and engage in battle at the infamous Field of Hell, Jigaku Koera. In order for Quake Engine to function, Grodd says, he needs the other 3 power converters from the Penguin, Deathstroke and Poison Ivy. Later that night, battered and worn out from their previous battle, Batman wakes up and is greeted by Alfred, who informs him that he has been out for 2 days. Batman is discouraged by how he behaved when he initially arrived here as he rethinks over his previous fight. With no equipment to assist him in war, such as vehicles, guns, or technology, he felt powerless. He was desperate enough to ally with Grodd and could not predict Grodd's betrayal. It resulted in loss of many lives. Now more than ever, he is driven to make up for his mistakes. This time, he urged his allies to study and master the ninja techniques, which when combined with their modern combat skills and innovations, will bring about the fulfillment of the ninja's legend and prophecy. Meanwhile, Robin informs Batman that Red Hood has traced the Joker and Harley, whom they initially thought for farmers. As Red Hood tries to force them to stop acting, Batman stops him because he believes they have lost all memories of who they were and decides to keep eye on them. After a month, the great battle's day has finally here. Grodd and Arkham Castle have moved closer to the battlefield. The Trojan Birdman Castle of Penguin, the Jiroku Plant Poison Castle of Poison Ivy, Kakuju Shorso Castle of Death Strokes, and the feudal Emote Castle of Two-Face, all mobilize and move directly for the Field of Hell. Now that the epic fight between giant robots has started, Penguin and Poison Ivy are engaged in combat as Deathstroke fires at them. When Grodd arrives to face Deathstroke, Two-Face steps in and offers to deal with Deathstroke by himself. Grodd appreciates Two-Face for his loyalty, but at the last moment, Two-Face betrays Grodd and tries to kill him. Grodd grabbed him and threw him over to Deathstroke since he expected his betrayal. He snatches Two-Face and Deathstroke while they are still on the ground and throws them at the Penguin and Poison Ivy. During this time, Batman and his allies have been preparing for this day and are on their way to eliminate them all when their path is blocked. Ian volunteers to handle them, and Batman is advised to concentrate on the battle. Batman and the others approach the battle zone and take off in homemade paragliders in the direction of Arkham Castle. Grodd reveals his gift, gives Batman his flute so that he can summon his army of monkeys to take down the Joker's robot. Robin and Monchi-Chi, his pet monkey, urge that he hand over the flute to him because he knows how to use it. When Robin and Monchi-Chi began playing the flute, thousands of armored monkeys appeared on the battlefield and rushed at the giant robot, but despite their overwhelming numbers, they were unable to grab it. Mommy, a female monkey, suggests that they combine the armored monkeys to create a giant monkey that is comparable to the giant robot. The giant robot is struck hard by the giant monkey, which causes it to fall to the ground. While it was down, Batman and the others rushed towards it, but it immediately stood back up. Harley fires a large flamethrower at Batman and the others, but the giant monkey grabs them and lifts them to the top. Monkeys begin to collapse one by one from the tremendous heat, when the Ninja Clan shows up, along with swarms of bats that smother the flames. The bats gathered, grabbed the giant monkey, and became one gigantic Batman, assisting Batman and the others in entering the fortress. Batman approaches the Joker, while the others search for the other criminals inside. While Red Robin fights Two-Face, Nightwing finds Penguin. Red Hood spars with Deathstroke, while Robin fights Poison Ivy. Harley is in Catwoman's hands. Joker reveals that he lost his memory by hypnotizing himself in order to gain an advantage in a battle of wits. They only retrieved their memories when the flowers bloomed and they waited for their time. After slaying everyone else, Batman and the Joker engaged in their epic final battle on the rooftop using swords in accordance with local tradition. Batman is at a disadvantage since, in keeping with his promise to refrain from killing, he is unable to end the battle. Batman is struck in the chest by the blade that Joker threw at him, causing him to fall off the roof. Moment the Joker believes he has successfully killed Batman. He appears behind him. Batman revealed ninja methods to him by dematerializing himself into a swarm of bats. He eventually beats Joker and is tempted to kill him, so he lets him fall off the building only to save him at the last moment. When the battle is finished, Batman and the others are appreciated by the Ninja Clan for restoring law and order in the nation. They return to their own time after Batman activates the Quake engine. In a post-credits scene, Batman is greeted by Alfred, who gives him a change of clothes for a meeting with the mayor. Batman is shown riding in a horse-drawn carriage toward his meeting. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to our channel to get notified whenever we publish the next recap. Till then, take care. See you next time. Welcome to US Movie Reruns. The title of this movie is Batman and Superman: Battle of Supersons. Remember to subscribe for more movie reruns. Caution: spoilers ahead. The movie opens with Superman's backstory as parents secure him gently inside a rocket to escape their dying planet. They sent him to Earth to save his life because he would have perished with them. We all know the Superman origin story. However, Superman marries a woman named Lois Lane and they now have a son named Jonathan. Jonathan is unaware of his father's true identity and thinks he is only a reporter. Jonathan sighs as he reads the news and silently wishes that his parents had normal jobs. He thinks that his parents are just a boring couple with nothing interesting ever happening in their lives. He is absolutely clueless. However, Lois leaves quickly and warns Jonathan not to look for his birthday present, but he does the exact opposite. He almost had the gift open when his dad called him. Clark Kent, also known as Superman, has returned from his job. Jonathan quickly tidies up his room and runs downstairs to his father, like he was never there. They are happy to see each other and they instantly hug. Both of them spend some quality time hanging out together and doing chores around the yard. Once they were done, they lay in a stack of hay under the clear night sky. Jonathan complains that his father is never here and he misses him as he is always away. His father assures him that he will understand him one day. However, Clark notices something falling down from the sky. It looks like a shooting star, but it was something else. He is quickly alerted and tells Jonathan to wash up while he goes to inspect it. It was a watchtower, and before it can reach Earth, Superman manages to stop it. He also manages to save Green Arrow, who is inside, but as soon as Superman leaves, something else that had entered the ship attacks Green Arrow. The next day, at the baseball game, Jonathan sees that his father isn't in the audience. He gets out without scoring a point and leaves the field disappointed. His mother tries to cheer him up, but nothing seems to work. After getting home, Clark returns and Lois suggests that maybe it's time for Jonathan to know about his father's true identity. Clark goes up to Jonathan's room to talk with him, but as he enters he sees Jonathan has gotten out through the window and is running away. He runs through the fields in anger when suddenly a laser beam is emitted from his eyes, causing an explosion. Scared and heartbroken, Jonathan hides himself in the barn thinking something is wrong with him. But his father shows up with glasses and his costume, revealing to Jonathan that he is Superman as he floats in the air. Jonathan excitedly runs around the house, but Lois is worried for him. He showed no signs of having any superpowers and they had always thought that he was normal. However, Clark is optimistic that Jonathan only inherited heat vision from him. He takes Jonathan for a ride. This is probably the most exciting experience he's had so far. Suddenly a foul stench hits their noses and Clark realizes that they are in Gotham City. There they see Batman brutally fight his opponents, then he hands him over to the police with little to no effort. For Jonathan, it was all a dream, like Biggs said. Finally, meeting his idol Batman, who takes him to the Batcave. There he meets Damian for the first time. Damian is Batman's son, and just like his father, he is ice-cold and weary of new people. Batman assures Damian that they mean no harm and instructs Damian to set up Jonathan in a meta-analyzer. After examining him, Batman tells Clark that he cannot detect any other superpower. But maybe if he is confronted with another traumatic experience, his powers may resurface. Damian is eavesdropping on their conversation and decides to test this theory by pushing Jonathan off the edge. As Jonathan falls down, Clark springs into action and grabs him before he could hit the ground. Batman scolds Damian for what he did and asks him to get out. Superman sympathizes with Damian as he knows what he has gone through in his life and forgives him. However, Jonathan cannot believe that his father wouldn't hold Damian accountable for his actions against him. He leaves when Superman asks him to give him and Batman 2 minutes alone. Superman asks Batman if he had received word from Green Arrow, but is surprised to find out that Green Arrow is still out of touch. As they are having this conversation, Jonathan wanders off and explores the Batcave, where he sees Damian. Damian is being told by Wonder Girl that he isn't welcomed in Teen Titans because he is too violent. Jonathan feels bad for him and tries to start a conversation, but he is surprised by a cow coming out of the shadows. Jonathan offers to milk the cow, but Damian warns him to stay away from him and his cow. Batman and Superman talk with Green Arrow through lib transmission, but they quickly realize that something is off. Superman takes Jonathan home. He sleeps as soon as he hits the bed. Meanwhile, Liz informs Superman that in some areas of America the crime rate has dropped to 0. It's more than a coincidence. Superman and Batman go to the watchtower to inquire, but become worried when they notice the unsettling silence. Superman told Batman to leave as soon as he used his X-ray vision, but it was too late. The Martian Manhunter comes up behind them and a starfish organism comes out of his mouth and attacks them. The next day, Jonathan wears the Superman suit and glasses to school when some bullies start hassling him. They provoked him to a point where he pushed one of the bullies, who fell face first to the ground. Jonathan then realizes that he also has super strength along with his heat vision. Back at the Batcave, Damian is still languish over about what Teen Titans did to him. Suddenly, Batman comes up behind him and the same starfish-looking organism crawls out of Batman's arm, but Damian's quick reflexes allow him to turn and kill it almost immediately. Batman looks like a zombie and his body begins to shake, and another starfish comes out of his mouth and covers half of his face. Damian was horrified and his father seemingly did not recognize him. He attacks Damian, who tries to defend himself but fails and is thrown off the edge. Superman, who is obviously infected, informs Batman that all the members of the Justice League have been infected now and nothing stands in their way. Batman leaves and it turns out that Damian survived the fall with the help of a grapple hook. Meanwhile, the principal is busy scolding Jonathan for beating up the bully. Unexpectedly, the Batmobile landed on the playground. Jonathan quickly promises to never do it again and leaves the office as soon as possible. Jonathan was surprised to see Damien and inquired what he was doing here. Damien explains that their fathers have been infected and they need to save them. Suddenly, Lois shows up and asks Jonathan to leave with her. He was about to go when Damien stops him and asks him to test her first. She fails the test and it becomes apparent that she too has been infected. They both ran as she gave chase. They managed to escape her in the Batmobile, but Lois was attached to the Batmobile as they flew. In the air, she tries everything to get inside. She was almost successful, but Jonathan uses his heat vision and kills the organism attached to her face with critical precision. She falls into the pond while they fly away. They don't know where to go for help, so Damien takes him to the only place that comes to his mind. It's a place hidden far away in the mountains. The only way to open the doors is by using a key that can only be lifted with super strength. Jonathan was able to successfully open the door. As they stepped inside, they were attacked by the super dog Crypto. Jonathan and Damien try everything, even throwing grenades at him, but nothing affects him. He survived every attack. However, both of them were thrown through a wall, and as they stood up they saw two enormous statues standing right in front of them. However, Crypto tries to attack them again, but this time a voice stops him and a hologram of Jonathan's grandfather appears, informing Crypto that Jonathan is Superman's son, and the dog goes from DEFCON 4 to Scooby-Doo, showering Jonathan with kisses and licks. Damien gives the artificial embodiment of Jonathan's grandfather a sample of the organism he collected, and he tells him it is a spore from the alien known as Starro. It's like a hive mind that controls all the spores, and their plan is to take control of the population of any planet they are deposited on. Damien and Jonathan explain that it all started when their fathers went to space. This could only mean that the mind is up there. They must go to space to defeat it. Lois goes to her office and finds her co-worker Jimmy. The parasite left her, but she is weary of everyone around her. She first inspects Jimmy and makes sure that he is not infected, then she tells him everything. They must find a way to broadcast the warning to everyone. Jimmy mentions that only a president can do it. This is how they are going to warn everyone. Meanwhile, Jonathan and Damien have to go to space, and the only thing available to take them there is the same small rocket Superman came in when he was just a baby. It was a tight fit, but it could work. They bid farewell to Crypto and Jonathan's grandfather and are off to space. Once they enter the watchtower, the infected Justice League members immediately attack them. Meanwhile, Lois goes to the president asking for his help despite their differences in the past. The president agrees to help her if she publishes an article apologizing for everything she had said about him in the past. She unwillingly agrees and they had a deal. While at the watchtower, Damien and Jonathan have been made prisoners. Starro appears before them and tells them that he plans to not only take over their planet but also others around it. Starro thinks that he is helping humans by taking away their free will. This angers Damien, who tries to attack him, but he is arrested by the infected heroes. Starro orders the Justice League to eliminate them. Green Arrow takes aim and shoots an arrow toward Damien, but Jonathan gets in between and is hit. Damien sits by his side and starts to confess that he just started to like him. Jonathan surprises him when he sits up straight and they both laugh, proving he is also indestructible. They are no longer scared of anything anymore and fight the heroes with bravery. On Earth, the president does the live transmission, but midway it is revealed that he is in fact infected by the alien. Lois comes from behind and uses flame from her lighter to burn the spore on his face. Jonathan is also seeing this on the monitor in the watchtower. Before the transmission cuts, Lois manages to tell Jonathan that he can eliminate spores using his laser eyes. They defeat all the other Justice League members but are helpless when it comes to their fathers. Nothing seems to work against them. Jonathan helps Damien in tackling Batman, while he steals the kryptonite ring from him. Damien wears it and fights with Superman while Jonathan struggles against Batman. Both of them seem to be losing their fights, but in the end, by using their powers and abilities, they manage to defeat them. However, the only way to eliminate the hive mind is if they burn the watchtower. They get all the Justice League members into an aircraft and send them off to the Earth. Then both of them stay behind. After all, being a hero is all about sacrifices. Jonathan finally understands. So they went to the control room where they are about to execute their plan, but Starro attacks them. Jonathan falls but quickly grabs the edge with one hand while the other holds on to Damien. His leg is in the grasp of one of Starro's tentacles. Damien instructs Jonathan to use a laser beam on it and he follows through. Suddenly the fire engulfs the watchtower as it approaches the Earth at high velocity. Jonathan and Damien run to safety. Starro stares at the flame with fear in his eye as the flames completely engulf him. Meanwhile, on Earth, Every human being is regaining their free will. The spores and the connection between the mind is lost. Damien and Jonathan sit peacefully at how they never thought. Surprisingly takes him into a warm hug. Though surprised at first, Damien soon gives into it. The Teen Titans inform Damien that they have taken another vote and want him to join, but Damien has other pressing matters to attend to. They all go to Jonathan's baseball game. This time around he doesn't miss the ball and hits a homer. Sitting on top of a tank, Damien pushes Jonathan off of it as a birthday present, and when Jonathan hits the earth, Damien concludes that he still cannot fly. Thanks for watching movie reruns. If you enjoy this recap, consider subscribing to our channel. Welcome to US Movie Reruns. The title of this movie is Ferdinand. Remember to subscribe for more movie reruns. Caution, spoilers ahead. The movie begins in Spain on a bull farm. There the bull cubs are having fun playing with the exception of a bull named Ferdinand. Ferdinand would rather take care of his flowers than train for a fight. One day a truck came to the farm because Ferdinand doesn't know anything. Valiente explains it to him. Valiente is a bull cub who aspires to become the strongest bull in the arena and defeats all the matadors. Then there is another bull named Bones who has more speed than the other bull cubs, and there is Guapo who always feels nauseous when he hears the word matador. One day, Bones was pushed by Valiente. He almost hit Ferdinand's flower. After that, Valiente approached and attempted to step on Ferdinand's flower. If Ferdinand wants to save his flower, he's got to fight him. However, they came to know that Ferdinand prefers flowers than to fight. Soon the adult bulls came out of the cage to fight each other. Ferdinand's father asked his son, Ferdinand, to pray for victory. The matador himself had come that day to see the bulls. Ferdinand's father was chosen to be the bull that would fight in the arena. Feeling disappointed, Valiente's father left and returned to the cage. Valiente, who saw his father disappointed, tried to cheer him up, but instead he was embarrassed. On the other hand, Ferdinand's father was very happy because he was successfully selected to enter the arena. He also said that fighting a matador is every bull's dream, but Ferdinand seemed to disagree with him. After that, his father said goodbye and said that he would beat the matador and would return home soon. Then his father left the farm in a truck. Ferdinand returns to the barn to see his flower being trampled on by Valiente, who is annoyed that his father was beaten by Ferdinand's father. Ferdinand waited for days, but his father never came back, until one day he heard the sound of a truck coming. He thought his dad was returning home, but when he got there he saw the empty truck. Valiente's father said that bulls always lose because they are weak. It turns out that Ferdinand's father is gone, but Ferdinand doesn't know that for fact. The stable keeper who saw him outside tried to catch him, but Ferdinand instead ran and tried to escape from the farm. Ferdinand kept running until he got to the railroad tracks. He escaped the keepers by jumping onto one of the wagons. The train carried him away, and after getting off, Ferdinand continued walking aimlessly until he heard a dog's voice. Frightened, Ferdinand walked backward until he slipped and fell into a ravine. Luckily he was found by someone and brought back to his house. In the morning, Ferdinand, who had just woken up, saw a little girl named Nina approaching him. She slowly tried to approach Ferdinand, wanting only to take care of him. Then she took him out of the barn. There he met Nina's father Juan and his guard dog Paco. Ferdinand was happy to live there because Nina's house was in a hilly area where many flower plants grew. Since then, he has lived with Nina and her family. They became good friends. They ate and slept together. Even helped to sell flowers with Nina's dad. Over time, Ferdinand grew into an adult bull. His body is very large, beyond the average bull. Though grown, he still does various activities with Nina's family, such as singing and dancing. He is big. Ferdinand still sleeps with Nina. One day Ferdinand woke up feeling excited because today there was a flower festival in the city. However, when Nina was leaving for the city, her father told her that Ferdinand could no longer go with them to the city because he is now too big. Instead, they took Paco with them. Dispirited, Ferdinand went up the hill. There he asks for different signs from stones, even the chicken eggs to hatch. It turns out the chicken egg did hatch, and Ferdinand immediately followed Nina to the city. Arriving at the city, people were surprised to see a big bull roaming around. There Ferdinand had time to comfort a crying baby by making funny faces. Shortly after that, he met Nina, who was arranging her flowers. Then he talked to her behind a clothesline, but when he tried to get free he had trouble because his horn got stuck. Ferdinand kept walking backward to escape, but instead he fell on a flower with bees and was stung in the butt. In pain, Ferdinand made a mess and got the baby he comforted earlier stuck to his horn. Accidentally the pram was thrown, but Ferdinand quickly saved the baby using the pram. Even though he managed to save the baby, the crowd still looked at him like some kind of wild animal. As a result, He was chased by the police and several citizens. Ferdinand then hid in a glass and plate shop. When the shop owner's grandmother is cleaning, he disguises himself as a display. The grandmother, who thought Ferdinand was a display, helped clean it, but that actually made him sneeze. Again he made a mess. This time he destroyed the shop as the grandmother was blown away by his sneeze. Unfortunately, Ferdinand was caught by the police and put in a truck. Nina, who saw everything, tried to catch the truck but failed, and she cried. It turns out that Ferdinand was taken back to his native farm. He tried to rebel but accidentally pushed the farm owner away. The current owner of the farm is Moreno. Shortly after, Moreno told his men to call the goat's trainer. Ferdinand then met a female goat named Lupe. She introduces herself as the calm goat. When Ferdinand got out of the truck, Moreno was amazed to see his very large and sturdy body. Lupe, who saw his body, was also surprised. Then she started to examine his body and said she would be his coach from now on. After that, Ferdinand was brought into the barnyard where he met his old friends, who were amazed to see his enormous body size. While Ferdinand was away, 2 new bulls came there, a longish bull named Angus and a laboratory experimented bull named Maquina. Valiente, who has disliked Ferdinand since childhood, has remained unchanged even though they haven't seen each other for a long time. He greeted Ferdinand's return with a menacing look. After that, Lupe took Ferdinand to his barn, but the space was too small for his enormous size. That night 3 hedgehogs entered Ferdinand's barn to steal food. They are Una, Dos and Quattro. Ferdinand saw the hedgehogs stealing his food and confronted them, which woke Lupe up. Lupe fights with Una for stealing her food. However, the 3 hedgehogs were frightened by Ferdinand's enormous body, but Ferdinand allowed the hedgehogs to take his food and lifted them up so they could get out easily. Ferdinand's intention is to return to Nina, so when Lupe falls asleep, he sneaks out of the barn. Unfortunately, he was almost electrocuted by an electric fence and teased by 3 horses who saw his failed escape attempt. In the morning, Lupe, who woke up first, saw the arrival of a matador named El Primero. Then she woke up all the bulls that were in the stable. When Lupe woke Ferdinand, she accidentally stepped on his tail, which surprised him. In his reflexes, he kicked her until she was thrown into a wall. It turned out that El Primero's goal in coming there was to choose the strongest bull to fight him in the arena. Then the guards started setting up the matador simulation arena, and all the bulls there began to come out. All the bulls looked enthusiastic about attacking the bull except for Ferdinand, who was busy avoiding the other bulls fighting. Guapo, who attacked Valiente, immediately fainted when he saw Matador. Ferdinand, who saw him fainted, ran towards him, but he disrupted the battle area instead. El Primero witnessed it and was disappointed that the animals there did not match his expectations. Mourinho then asked for time to choose the best bull. After the fight simulation was done, all the bulls blamed Ferdinand for not wanting to fight. Then he said that he was not a real fighting bull. Soon after, they saw Guapo being loaded into a truck. Guapo immediately arrogantly thought he was chosen by El Primero when he was actually brought to the slaughterhouse. That evening, Bones was saddened by Guapo's departure. He told Ferdinand to fight so he could be safe in the morning. All the bulls start training to be the strongest, so they are selected by El Primero. Everyone looks excited except for Ferdinand, who is still silent. Lupe, who saw that, did not remain silent. She continued to encourage him so that he would practice. In the middle of the practice arena, Ferdinand saw a rabbit that was almost run over by Angus. Ferdinand immediately ran to help him and nudge Angus until he was thrown down. The little rabbit, who saw Ferdinand running towards him, was shocked and fainted. Then Ferdinand tried to stop his speed but hit a tank instead. After that, Ferdinand immediately went to the rabbit and gave him CPR. Soon the rabbit woke up and left. Ferdinand, who knew Angus's eyesight was obscured because of his long hair, licked his hair up so that he could see more clearly. Angus, who was happy, immediately threw the barrel up. Then the 3 horses that had taunted Ferdinand came back and taunted all the bulls. Feeling insulted, Ferdinand replied with a dance, but the 3 horses did not want to be outdone and immediately responded with a dance that was just as good. After that, Bones and Angus joined Ferdinand dancing against the 3 horses. Finally, the dance moves of the horses did not coordinate and they were electrocuted by the same electric fence, which made the 3 of them loose. Meanwhile, the bulls were very happy because they beat the arrogant horse. After that, Ferdinand invites Lupe to run away from that place to Nina's house. At first, she refuses, but after Ferdinand convinces her, Lupe agrees to run away with him. Then he asks the hedgehogs for help by giving them a toy flower pot that makes a sound. That night, Ferdinand set out to follow the directions of the hedgehogs, who told him to enter Moreno's house. They all began to sneak away there. Then he tried to get in through the window. Even though he had difficulty getting in because of his large body, he finally managed to get in thanks to the help of the hedgehogs. Unfortunately, Ferdinand fell on top of the car, then the car alarm went off. The guards outside who heard the car alarm go off rushed over to check on him. Luckily, the hedgehogs managed to distract them by dancing and biting the hand of one of the guards. Inside the house, Ferdinand sees a photo of his father and his bullhorns hanging on the wall. He realized that all the bulls that went to the Matador arena would surely die. Suddenly, Ferdinand changed his mind. He couldn't let his friends end up like that. Meanwhile, the hedgehogs managed to open the exit, but Ferdinand returned to the barn. He told his friends that he saw the bullhorns on display at Moreno House. He said that being selected to the Matador arena was the same as going to a slaughterhouse. However, Valiente did not believe a word he said. He says Ferdinand was a coward. He remained firm in his stance to enter the arena to survive. He even challenged Ferdinand to a fight. However, Ferdinand did not want to fight with him. When Valiente attacks him, Ferdinand tries to stop him, but he accidentally breaks Valiente's horn and El Primero sees that, and finally Ferdinand was chosen to be El Primero's opponent in the arena. Meanwhile, Valiente, who had lost one of his horns, was brought to the slaughterhouse, but Ferdinand remained focused on his plan to escape with his friends. Then the hedgehogs lured the 3 horses into the bull's pen and locked it from the outside. Meanwhile, Ferdinand goes to the slaughterhouse to free Valiente. Once there, he forced open the slaughterhouse door using his horns and went inside. He managed to find Valiente and asked him to escape together, but Valiente, who was already desperate, told him to leave. Suddenly, Ferdinand heard Guapo's voice, then he went looking for Guapo. It turns out that Guapo was strung up, but he hadn't been cut yet. He was trying to save himself. As soon as he saw Ferdinand, Guapo felt very happy. However, when Ferdinand was about to let Guapo go, he accidentally activated the butcher system. They panicked and he tried his best to save Guapo. When Guapo was about to get cut, Valiente surprisingly came to save him. Apparently, Valiente had a change of heart and decided to go with them. After going through several obstacles, the 3 of them finally managed to escape the slaughterhouse and hit the horses in the stables. Ferdinand then told his friends to get into the truck while he climbed in the front of the truck. Escape truck. The guards who knew the bulls would run away immediately came out to catch them. The little rabbit from the day before appeared as they approached the gate and they immediately stopped. Ferdinand got down to take the rabbit with him in the truck. Angus tries to revive the rabbit by electrocuting it. After that, he realized he was even more scared because he was surrounded by adult bulls. The chase continued until morning on a highway. Unfortunately, their truck hit a low bridge, causing the top of the truck to break off. As Moreno's men approached their truck, one of the guards tried to grab the truck and force the bulls to pull over. Seeing this, Una had an idea to get rid of Moreno's men. Suddenly, she jumped into his car and then opened the hood, which caused them to lose control and crash into a mound of dirt in front of him. So he was thrown off the track and hit a haystack. They then managed to escape from the pursuit of the guards. Shortly afterwards, the bulls were caught in a traffic jam and were being chased again by Moreno and the guards. Ferdinand, who saw that, told his friends to run to the train station and get on the train there to escape the pursuit. All the animals got out of the truck and followed Ferdinand's instructions. Seeing a herd of adult bulls in the middle of a traffic jam is not normal and caught the attention of many civilians in the middle of the road. The bulls got on the bus to get there quickly. The bus passengers were very surprised to see bulls getting on the bus with them and became terrified. Arriving at the station, Moreno and his men again chased them. However, Ferdinand and the others then pushed the wagon, and after it moved he told his friends to get on, but Ferdinand stopped because he knew Moreno was only after him. He sacrificed himself so his friends could escape. Ferdinand was captured and the news quickly got to Nina and her father on TV. On the other hand, El Primero is preparing for his fight in the arena. The Matador fight began. El Primero came out to a roar of cheers from the audience. Then Ferdinand also came out. However, when the game started he was silent because he didn't want to fight. So the officers there forced him using a spear and El Primero started toying with him. Unexpectedly, El Primero's red cloth got stuck in Ferdinand's horn in the middle of the fight. Then a battle developed. El Primero was thrown onto Ferdinand's back, which the audience found funny. Ferdinand, who felt uncomfortable being ridden, knocked El Primero out of the arena. Then an angry El Primero re-entered the arena with his spears. He kept trying to attack Ferdinand even though Ferdinand kept avoiding him. Finally, El Primero managed to injure Ferdinand, which made Ferdinand angry and hurt him. Luckily, his horn only caught his shirt, but his anger immediately subsided after seeing the flower that he stepped on. Knowing there is no chance to escape, El Primero takes out his sword and prepares to kill Ferdinand. As he was about to kill Ferdinand, the action was stopped by the spectators who wanted the bull to live, and finally the fight was won by Ferdinand, who was greeted by his best friend Nina soon after. Nina entered the arena and immediately hugged Ferdinand. His friends showed up shortly afterwards. First, they did not think that Ferdinand could win. After the fight, Ferdinand and his friends were taken to Nina's place, and now they all live happily there without having to worry about fighting a matador again, and the film ends. Thanks for watching movie reruns. If you enjoyed this recap, consider subscribing to our channel for more movie recaps.
Welcome to US Movie Reruns. The title of this movie is Jingle All the Way. Remember to subscribe for more movie recap. Caution, spoilers ahead. Jingle All the Way is a 1996 American Christmas family comedy film directed by Brian Levant, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger as Howard and Sinbad as Miron. This film has the two rival fathers going head-to-head for most of the film. The film opens with a classic American hero called Turbo Man fighting off his evil nemesis with his trusty sidekick Booster. His nemesis captured a little boy named Billy and disappears in a cloud of smoke, and Turbo Man stops his aircraft from taking off. Suddenly, a lady screaming, signaling Turbo Man of the villain location. We see the villain has Billy hanging over a precipice. Turbo Man says his catchphrase, "It's turbo time," and flies in to save Billy from certain doom. We then realize that Howard's son, Jamie, was watching a movie on his TV at home. Turbo Man saves Billy and returns him to his father. Jamie's mom came and told him to change because they have to leave. Jamie was waiting on his dad because they were waiting to go to his karate exhibition. Jamie exclaims that he misses everything. The scene changes and at Howard's office appears to be a party. The scene was festive, with Christmas carols and conga lines. However, Howard was working, but his secretary came to remind him of Jamie's karate exhibition, to which he states that he is going to make it on time, and he kept on working. All his customers were told that they were his number one customer. Then his wife Liz called also to remind him of the karate exhibition. Before hanging up, he accidentally told his wife that she was his number one customer. Then he hurried out of the office, repeating to himself that he is going to make it on time. But his secretary disagrees unknowingly. He drives out in a rush, only to encounter a massive traffic pileup. Meanwhile, Jamie's karate exhibition was underway. The students walk out, and Howard's neighbor Ted sat beside Liz and waves to his son Johnny. Ted admires the children, and Liz agrees that they're adorable. The exhibition started, and during this time, the female parents kept on flirting with Ted, much to Liz's disgust. Back in traffic, Howard decides to take the shoulder. However, after a few meters down the road, a motorcycle police siren comes on and the police chases Howard, stopping him and requesting his documents. Howard outlined the urgency of his situation, but Officer Hummel instructed him to step out of the vehicle. Back at the exhibition, the children were doing great. Ted's son got a purple belt. Meanwhile, Howard was walking a straight line after that. The officer instructed him to recite the alphabets as he stated. The Officer Hummel stated he should do so in reverse. Jamie was up and he broke his box, revealing his purple belt as Liz cheered and whistled. But Jamie was disappointed and looked towards the door for his dad. But Howard didn't show up. Later that evening, Howard showed up to an empty auditorium. Only the janitor that was cleaning. He didn't make it. Howard went home where he was greeted by Ted, who was on his roof installing Christmas lights since Howard had not installed any. Howard went inside to his wife Liz in the kitchen. Howard told her about the ticket he got. Liz told her to explain to Jamie. Howard went into the next room where Jamie was watching Turbo Man on TV and refused to greet him. He tried to speak to Jamie, but Jamie ran to his room, not listening to his dad. Howard enters the room and uses Jamie's purple belt playfully. Jamie ignores him and goes to complete his drawing. Howard realizes he just needed to be real with Jamie. They had a discussion about the belts, and Howard admits his fault and apologizes to Jamie. Jamie excitedly told his dad he can make it up by getting him the new Turbo Man action figure. Jamie told him everyone is getting one, and whoever doesn't will be a real loser. Jamie and Howard hugs, telling each other "I love you" and seals the deal. In Howard's room, Liz asked him if he got the Turbo Man doll. Apparently, Howard was told to get the doll a long time ago but forgot. Howard has not gotten the doll and lies to Liz, telling her he got the doll. Liz was relieved to hear this. That morning, while Jamie and Liz were having breakfast, Howard came downstairs and lies to Liz again, telling her the doll was at the office and he had to go and get it. Liz understood, and he was given a pass. But Jamie reminds him of the Christmas Eve parade as he was about to leave. Jamie informs him Turbo Man will be there this year. Howard promises to be there, and as he leaves he sees Ted with a reindeer that almost mowed Howard down and bite him when he tries to pet it. The reindeer doesn't seem to like Howard. Before leaving, Ted told Howard he got a Turbo Man doll for Johnny months ago, and it is nestled underneath the Christmas tree. The scene changed to the busy city. Some people going about their business, and some people crowded store doorways to do their last-minute Christmas shopping for their family. Howard makes his way to the front of a crowd as the owner waits to open the door. The angry crowd then pushes him to the back. There, he met Myron, who lobbies on his behalf and gives him a cut. Myron was a mailman, and he kept on rant about Christmas letter keeping him busy, and he was unable to buy a Turbo Man doll for his son. Howard tells him that he is also in search of a Turbo Man doll. Myron rants about a ploy by the rich and powerful toy cartel who spend billions on advertising to send subliminal messages to suck your children's mind. Howard thinks he is crazy. The door opens shortly afterwards, and the crowd pushes the owner out of the way and trampling him. The crowd dispersed in the store looking for various toys. When Howard and Myron got the Turbo Man section, they realized it was sold out. The entire store began laughing at them when they heard what they were looking for. Howard got upset and grabbed the two laughing store clerks and solicited information about more Turbo Man dolls. The clerks informed them of a woman who just left with one. They gave a description and Howard ran off but was knocked over by Myron. Howard drove a remote-controlled car under Myron's foot, tripping him up. Scattering letters everywhere, Howard then runs by and mocks him. He went outside to a crowded city looking for the woman in a fur coat. He found a woman in a fur coat and paid her 3 times the amount she paid, only to find out it was not a Turbo Man doll, but the Psychic Booster. He eventually found the right lady with the Turbo Man doll, driving away in the back of a car. He spooked the lady, and she left him in the middle of the road empty-handed. He searched near and far, high and low, but none of the stores he went to had a Turbo Man doll. Meanwhile, at home, Johnny and Jamie fight about whose turn it is to be Turbo Man. Ted later appeared as Liz baked Christmas cookies. Ted forces Liz to take a break and awkwardly hugs her to take off her apron. Ted took over the baking, then stylishly went to burn his hands. Shortly afterward, Howard called home and Ted picked up the phone. Ted tells Howard he is helping out Liz in the kitchen as he eats a cookie. Ted refuses to let Howard speak to Liz and hangs up the phone. Shortly after leaving the phone booth, Howard met with Myron, who apologizes for whacking him and suggests they join up as a team. Howard declines the suggestion, but Myron accusing him of racism when a man blurted they had a delivery of Turbo Man at Toy Works. All 3 men jumped in their cars, but when Howard backed away, he knocked over something. He came out of his car to see it was a police motorcycle. As he lifted the motorcycle up, a surprised officer dropped his coffee. We later realized it was none other than Officer Hummels, the same officer who stopped him the night before. Myron drove by and mocked Howard as he sees the situation he was in. The scene changes and Howard makes his way to Toys World just in time for a small gathering. There, the owner confirms that they did receive a small quantity of Turbo Man dolls. Myron was present in the crowd. They were supposed to give out the dolls orderly and select from the balls who will get a doll, but there was chaos brewing, so they threw the balls in the crowd. Balls and people were all over the ground, pushing, shoving, crashing, screaming, each individual trying to get one. The balls fell into a little boy's lap and he runs into a play area with the ball. Howard went after him, but hurt himself and got beaten in the head by some ladies and had to leave the ball. He then ran into the mall Santa, who convinced Howard they had a doll with the help of his elf-looking friend. They took Howard to a secret warehouse and charged him a ridiculous price for the doll, but when Howard opened the bag, the doll was a knockoff. Howard got upset and demanded his money back and started to cuss them out. The mall Santa decided to fight and got knocked out with one punch, and was getting beat up before the police busted the doors down and the Santas scattered. Howard had to pretend to be an undercover detective using a toy badge he found. On his way back to the city, his car ran out of gas, and he had to push it to a diner where he called Jamie. Jamie quickly reminded him of his promise to be at the parade. Jamie told his dad he needs to keep his promises and reminds him that he never keeps his promises and hangs up the phone. Again, he runs into Myron at the same diner. An advertisement came on the radio saying that they had a Turbo Man doll for the first caller to name all Santa's reindeer. Both men began to fight and none was able to use the phone to call in. Howard gets to the radio station and forces his way into the radio personality's booth and names the reindeers. Myron thought he had lost and took out a package out of his mailman bag, threatening to blow up the building. The package fell and started to play the Jingle All the Way tune, revealing it was not a bomb. The radio personality then explained that the doll was not at the station. The police sirens then sounded outside, and this prevented both men from beating up the radio personality. Once again, Myron betrayed Howard, pushing him into the tapes before leaving the studio. Myron was stopped by the elevator and Howard was stopped by Officer Hummel. Howard was taking to join Myron at the elevator, and Myron pulled out another package and pretended it was a bomb. The cops pulled their guns down and both men escaped. After they left, Officer Hummel went to investigate the ramped box. After inspecting it, he ripped to one side and the box exploded in his face. Even Myron and Howard were in disbelief as they ran away. Howard returned to his car. He found it stripped down and get it towed back home. Upon his return, he saw Ted pulling up his star on his Christmas tree, and he got enraged. Just before he barges in with a temper tantrum, he recalls Ted telling him that he got a doll for Johnny months ago. Howard decides to steal the doll.